But if I have a different opinion, I'll let you know. And if your opinion isn't a good one, I'll let you know.
Would you take Bo or Max Domi? When Jim Benning gets to the table and he sees JT Miller, I think that's what made him hit the gas.
You make those trades.
Look at what he's done being emerged into our lineup. It's night and day.
He's going to be our next Sammy Saddle, besides playing half a game a year.
So sick of people acting like he hasn't been that bad. Dude, he has been atrocious. And these mental gymnastics you have to go through to get to Collins' mind space on this trade is just, to me, it's way too much. Mr. Horvat has been bad. He's our captain. This is such a stupid take, Colin. Oh!
All right. We are back with another episode. It's been a couple of weeks. I know our 3 viewers are craving for content. So.
You know, I gotta hop in because Sean was annoyed last night that he hasn't had an episode to listen to in a while.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I started to realize we had taken a bit of a hiatus. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard when one person in this group is forming opinions and everyone else is just following. But no, just kidding.
Yeah, well, when you're such a vigilant leader, it's just easy to follow.
Yeah, I just have to do all the. Austin does all the background stuff. I do all the thought processing, and Bill just sits on his ass and just fuck all. So no, I'm just kidding.
No, but it's just been a dry time, honestly. We feel like we've been kind of going over the same stuff. We just need to expand our.
That's the way I feel.
range.
Seriously, it's like I've been motivated lately because we're just repeating ourselves. But
and it's just like this kind of just what the team has given us, right? Like honestly, it's just like even every game, it's like okay, same stuff. Yeah. Let's see this all over again. Same script.
I'm glad the reffing thing came up because we're gonna discuss just so people are aware. We're gonna discuss the reffing. I'm gonna get into it. We're gonna discuss the Canucks defense going forward because right now I think defensively is what our issues are, not really offensively, more defensively. And then we're gonna talk about
whoa. We gotta get into that. What you just said there. Dude, we've been shut out so many times. How are there issues non-offensive?
I think overall our issues are definitely in the defense. Like they're both issues, but I think defensively we have more issues than offensively. I'd say.
Yeah, both are bad. I think both.
I guess
I'm not
you
arguing that forwards are good at all. I'm not saying that.
I guess you can say this. There's a little bit of an asterisk on the performance of the forwards based on so many injuries, X, Y, and Z. Well, but the defense have been pretty much the same all year. Like even losing Hamonic was honestly better. But we're had pretty much the same core 7 to 8 guys in the lineup at defense. Then we've seen the same product pretty much every night.
No, that's all good. And then we'll talk about Buffalo and Calgary. So we'll start with the reffing. So obviously, like if people who are listening aren't aware, which shocked. Tim Steele got fired because he was basically doing what he was told to do. He just made the NHL look bad. In my opinion, he's doing what he's told to do. Like all these refs with game management and stuff. Like what he did was he said he's going to call the Nashville player, and he said, I'm going to get you guys and make a call early in the game. And I don't know the exact context of it, but I'm assuming it was like a make-up call or game management type thing. That's my assumption. If he was just making a call for the sake of it, well, that's different. But I didn't know that. Anyways, they fired him because he repeated it on the mic. Now, the way I see it is when it comes to game management and makeup calls, the refs are told to do this. So if he was fired off that, that's on the NHL and they're just trying to save face to make themselves not look bad because they don't want to admit to it. But it's true. Like we all know what happens. The penalties could be 5-1 for a team, but then that same team, even if they deserve 10 more power plays, they're not going to get them because it's game management, which I don't like. I don't like that at all. It frustrates me. It's wrong. If a team's playing hard and they deserve power plays and the penalties are obvious, give them the fucking power play. I don't even care. Give them the power play. Just call a goddamn game the way it's supposed to be called. And there's not enough light to this situation. I get it. Officiating is never going to be perfect. There's always going to be stuff you disagree with. You're not going to live in a perfect world. I get that. You're going to watch a game and stuff's going to get missed. They're human. But there's just too many times where obvious penalties aren't called. We played against Montreal the other week. Tyler Myers gets high stick to the end of the game, and then Montreal has a breakaway, and their player clearly cuts our guy off from trying to back check him, and there's nothing. You got to call that stuff. You can't let that go because if they score, let's say we win these games against Winnipeg, we're in a good position. If they score that goal and we lose in overtime, we miss the playoffs by a point. And that's stuff that I can't let slide. And you can't just say, oh, well, they're officials, they miss stuff. No, that's fucking bullshit. That's your job to call that. You fucking call that, all right? It's so goddamn obvious. There's no excuses for that crap. I get officiating is hard. I understand it, but that's what frustrates me when people defend that BS. Even the media in Vancouver defends it. Like, shut up. Stop defending it. Call it the way it's supposed to be fucking called. That's all I ask. Even the 2011 finals was terrible. Like Kelly Sutherland and it was Ryan O'Halloran or something. Tim Peel wasn't involved in that, but that was game management. That was awful. Like, what was that? Like, it cost it. I'm not blaming the rest, but they didn't do a good job. You can't sit there and tell me you did a good job. And if you want to argue with it, I'll meet you in the streets and I'll knock you out if you want. I don't even care. It frustrates me when people say
Watch out.
But anyways, I don't know if you guys want to chime in, but like, basically, NHL is not directing their refs the right way here. Austin, if you want to go.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
One sec. Austin, are you in Mug Club?
I am a Mug Club member. Louder with Crowder, Mug Club member from day one.
Okay.
At least
I just had to know.
Found out. Of course, brother. Yeah, I don't know. I get that. I mean, the game should be called as it's seen. I mean, at the end of the day, there's enough officials on the ice to be able to know what their role is and see what's out there. I understand, like, you know, playing in minor hockey, I could get it. And even I've refed some minor hockey, so it's like, yeah, you miss some stuff. You're not looking. You only got 2 or 3 guys out there. In the NHL, they got more than enough crew that they've established and felt that this is what we need to call the game right. Otherwise, they could pay someone else to do get another guy out there if they really need to, if they're missing so many calls. It's unexcusable. But like you said, I feel like it does come from the top down, and it's such a tough one because they kind of get the other side of the coin. It's like, well, the refs let the game get away from them. They should have been doing something. It's like, and I understand that from the perspective of this is becoming dirty hockey. Then that's where the game management, I feel, needs to come in when it becomes the safety of the players at hand. When you're making dirty calls because this guy did that and the other, it's like, okay, the makeup calls are for when things are escalating beyond their control. They need to settle it down, not, this team deserves a call and that team deserves a call. Same thing. That's why I don't know the full context of the Tim Peel thing, but if he was saying, look, there was, 1-2 really questionable calls or questionable run-ins, or you guys were trying to get this guy and I'm going to make a makeup call so this doesn't escalate out and beyond my control and we have a full brawl here. So that's where it's like, if that was the case, I do understand why he's saying this, guys. Look at, and even when I looked at the call, like, was it not goalie interference? Like, he just totally bowled over the goaltender. Wasn't that the call? And I was just like, what? So what were we even really arguing about? Like,
it's just the way he said it.
And that's why. And that's why I understand that. It's like, and I agree. And I think that I take the stance of the NHL is just trying to save face.
Yep.
It's like I saw like 2 or 3 days later, there was a funny picture of the ref, like holding his microphone, like really hard, like way down here. And it was like, he's not going to risk this one. And it's like, it's honestly, it's just that. It's like, oh, this guy slipped up and said it, so he's the one who's going to be the scapegoat. And it's such a unprofessional way to go about it, right? Like, address the issues, go and go from there. And even I'll say one last thing, I let Dylan get in here. One thing I brought up with you, Colin, was like, I don't even really like how the league handles, when players or coaches question the reffing and they go out and just hand them a fine, like, automatically. Just like, here you go. You're a bad boy. You can't do that.
I know.
It's just like, no, like, I'm allowed to question everything that happens out here. The NHL needs to go through and assess it. This is why the NBA, they actually do, I think they do a thing, which, I mean, it can frustrate fans more than it can help at times, but they do a thing where they look at the last 2 minutes of the game, I think, and they like, that was a missed call. That probably should have been called. That was a bad one. Our bad. We missed that one. And they address it like every game. It's like, Game 6 of the finals. Yeah, we should have had that call with 30 seconds left. Sorry. Like, we realize that now. We're going to try and do better. And I don't know if the NHL needs to do that and be able to say, hey, look, sometimes we screw up. Sometimes we mess up. But you need to be able to just take that onus and address it. Not just, hey, can this guy because he's the one who slipped.
Yeah. No, I agree. If Dylan wants to chime in or not.
Well, I agree there's a problem, but I diagnose the problem differently than you guys do. I think it's more of a cultural issue within the NHL. I don't think it's a top-down thing in the sense of they're saying to do game management or telling them to do these type of makeup calls. I see it more of a culture issue where you have, I don't want to use the word corruption. I think corruption's the wrong word, but you have some shady things that go on at the top to favor certain organizations.
Illusion?
And
Is that the right word?
I don't know. There's a few owners who get their privilege, and there's people within the hockey world that are important to the hockey world that do some shady things, and that is built through the NHL organizationally all the way top down, right? So it's just a culture within the organization. I think that carries down through the commissioner to the owners, into management, into the refs, right? And this culture of we can do whatever we want, where, like for example, if let's 50 years ago they say, hey, this team's got a bad rap and we would like them to win, so they kind of tell the refs, hey, they got screwed in the last game, give them a shot to make it up in this game, throw them a penalty or something. And then that escalates over the years, right? And this culture of we're the old boys, we can do whatever we want, builds into the refs, and they think that this is okay. And it's just like at your job, like, I mean, we all see it. Sometimes people do things that are bad, but it's so built into the organization of a company that people don't even realize what they're doing is morally wrong, right? And I think it's the same thing here. And so you see this with the refs. They think they can do whatever they want, and then it gets caught on the mic, and he's going to be the scapegoat. But I don't think it's going away anytime soon. I mean, you reference 2011. I think that was a very clear bias of what the league wanted to happen, and I think it happens all the time, man. And so
Bullshit.
I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. I wouldn't expect it to. And I think that the reason I would disagree with what you're saying, in a sense, is we all know it's true, and there's nothing we're going to be able to do about it. There's no way it gets fixed. You're not going to change the entire management structure of the NHL. So you just got to play through the reffing. If you want the Canucks to win a cup, you just got to accept that they have to play through that type of thing.
I know, it's just fucking bullshit. Like it's stupid. Like, I don't know. It's a mental grind watching. Like, for one, the Canucks, like, they don't do anything easy, and for two, then the reffing on top of that. It's just such a mental grind sometimes to deal with it.
And I don't know, like, at the same time too, it's like I don't want to make this seem like the NHL is the worst league in the world, because I seem to always harp on them because other leagues seem to figure it out. But like same thing, if you, like other leagues seem to figure it out. I was gonna say, like, the NBA actually has had a worse situation like this, where they caught a ref literally rigging the games because he knew if he gave a guy 2 or 3 fouls in the first quarter, then the whole game management changed for that team, and vice versa. So that was like a completely out of the bark. Like, this guy took the game into his hands, where I guess I was going to say the comparison I see with you, where there's some teams, some owners get a little favoritism. Like, you look at the NFL, like Jerry Jones is basically the owner of the NFL, but his games don't get called any different than anyone else. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't watch enough Cowboys to say that they get more calls, but they ain't winning any Super Bowls.
Can I say something? I agree with what you just said, but between Boston and Vancouver, there's something going on there.
Oh, no, and this is what I'm saying, is that like, somehow that's been ingrained, like you said, culturally through the league in the NHL, where they've been able to say, look, you got more power than probably every owner in the league here, but at the end of the day, the refs are that's not our thing. The refs have their own union. They do their own jobs. They are controlled and managed that way. We don't touch them. And I don't know why. I don't know what the NHL structure looks like. I'm sure they have some sort of a reffing union, but obviously they're, getting a little pat on the back more than they are getting their own little aisle here.
Well, one thing to think about too, leading into the future here, is with the NHL trying to profit so heavily off of gambling in the upcoming years. I mean, you got to worry that this is going to get worse and could escalate to some.
I think it will.
I think if it's not heavily monitored, it could get bad, right? So, there's definitely opportunities for refs to make some money under the table here coming up.
I don't know. Actually, it's kind of funny you say that, because there's this one guy. I should figure out what his handle is, but there's this one guy I found on TikTok, and he's literally, it's like sports bet TikTok or something weird like that. And he literally goes through like all the games. He's like, here's how this game got thrown. And it's just like X, Y, like this player did this ref did this, and now look at the game's over, and now the coverage wasn't met, or like, they didn't win by 3.5 like they were supposed to, and like all these weird things. And he does this like every day of like other examples. So I don't know if it's more so that sometimes we look for these things and thus we think they're happening, or we expect them to happen, or if it's just that it's the reality of it. I don't know. Like, I feel like that's kind of a I don't know what the right word is, but it's kind of like a statement in which most people will say that are a little bit afraid of change. Like more people who would say like we shouldn't get gambling in Canada because the refs are gonna start rigging the game so they can make an extra buck. It's like, that's happened once in the history of like North American sports, and the one that I talked about. And I mean, there's probably more times it's happened that we don't know about, but like.
I actually hard disagree with you, Austin. I think that we just don't know. I think there's millions of dollars involved in this. I'm pretty sure it's getting fixed all the time.
I think it is too. I think there's no. I'm in between both of you. That sounded really weird. I'm in between both of you.
He's in a sandwich.
Colin lives in between both.
I agree with both of you, but like Dylan's, I'm with him there. Like I think there's got to be something. Come on, like that series versus even St. Louis, like they had a bad call go against them versus Boston.
Yeah, that's or our series against St. Louis.
Yeah.
Last year, man, I bet you for sure. Like that, it's such an easy narrative to explain. Oh, it's the bubble; they didn't care.
I know.
And then I'm sure there's guys making so much money off of it. I don't buy that. These greedy millionaire team owners aren't capitalizing on that. I just don't buy it.
Yeah. I think at the same time, maybe I'm giving these guys a little too much credit since it's these owners seem to be showing more face over the last year than anyone else. So yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe you're honest.
Money gives you power. Money gives you power. That's all there is to it. You can do what you want. Like you get away with it. I don't know. I just think it's fucking BS as a fan. Have to sit there and watch your team get like even as an NHLer. Like I just don't get like you get paid millions to deal with it, but like I just surprised that they don't bring more light to the situation.
Well, that's kind of where I think I was coming from in the sense of like if this is going to happen, you're gonna have to get real tricky to never get caught. Like there's gonna be no way of a paper trail that you're gonna find that this ref or this person, I mean, obviously there's ways to get around.
No, I don't think it's like that.
But I feel like that's just where, or like you said, if the players at some point, the players union is like, hey guys, clearly these games are getting rigged. You can't, not everyone can profit off this to the point that they can all shut their mouths. You know what I mean? And that's where I feel
fully disagree. I think that you walk into the NHL as a young guy and you get explained the culture of that. This is how it works in the NHL, and this is how the money's made, and this is how you get your paycheck. And I think that probably the teams and players and refs all talk about it openly when they have their closed door meetings. I don't think it's some like under the table.
They just give them a separate check, and they're like, bring this one to your bookie, and put it on Toronto +7.
Bitcoin, man.
Maybe.
Like I think it's that
you never know,
ingrained in the culture, man. Honestly, I don't think it's this like under the table thing.
Put it this way, I don't think it's as strong as you're emphasizing it, which I don't blame you for emphasizing, but if it was an actual issue, I would not be shocked at all. I'll say that.
Yeah. So
I'm in the middle. But yeah, no, it's you never, stuff behind the scenes happens all the freaking time. Like that one game. It was Canada versus, it was soccer. It was Canada. It was the women's soccer team, and this woman official was in there, and she later got caught because she was known to be gambling on the game because she was making all these horrible. It was like 5 years ago, I forget, but it was a big national game, and it was a horrible reffing job. And later on, she eventually got caught for it and got fired. It should actually bet on it.
I want to run a scenario.
FIFA's notorious for being corrupt.
Oh, FIFA's horrible.
Like, so this is what I mean. Like, either we get to a point where maybe you're right and we just know that the NHL is corrupt and that's just it, or I feel we get to a point that someone says something and it has to get cleared up one way or another. But yeah, go ahead.
I want to run a scenario by you. Okay, we've harped on the media and how they don't seem to care, but let's say this is a really open cultural issue in the NHL, right? And let's say even the media members are pretty aware of it, okay? And it's something that, Sportsnet, for example, is told, you can't let the cat out of the bag. This is how, you got to deal with us. TV deal, you have to has to be kept a secret. And like, they're not 100% sure, but they're pretty sure that everything that's done and every game that's won is all kind of mapped out. Let's run that as a possibility. It makes a lot more sense then that these journalists are kind of just checked out and tweeting the narratives and not asking questions and not really caring about the game. It totally allows you to understand the journalist's persona at that point, right? Because why would they care? They know that it's all probably planned, and now they just gotta stick with the narrative, push the thing.
Inside knowledge, yeah.
Yeah, it makes so much more sense that there's none of these media members really even seeming invested. It totally makes more sense.
Well, maybe it's also because they know that there's nothing that can be done about it. It is what it is. So what's the point harping on
But
it?
you would be passionate. Like the people that should be attracted to journalism, sports journalism, should be passionate about sports. And these guys do not seem to have any passion towards hockey. Like it's
Well,
kind of pathetic.
I don't know about that. Like who do you mean in
Dude,
general?
they're not even talking about what's going on in the games, Colin. Like they don't even be like, it was a bad play 5 minutes in by this player, and then he made another.
Hold up. Some of them do, not all of them. Like you're like not every.
Okay, well, at the end of the day, it's the vast majority do not, and I'll say that.
Sure, okay.
Does it not make a lot more sense to explain it in this way, where you go, okay, yes, they're paid off and they don't really care? It makes more sense than if you had a league that was totally honest and open to anyone winning and not corrupt. You would have these very, very, very passionate media members, you would think would be the ones drawn to it.
And you know what? I'll actually say I kind of am coming a little bit more to your side on that because of that scenario you laid out. Honestly, because to me, I know we don't try and get political, but this feels a lot like the American political sphere, right?
Yeah,
like and their media narrative, where the other night we watched Joe Biden stumble over his thoughts for 35 minutes, and then the media just praised him like, oh my goodness, this is the Messiah. I can't believe he just gave us that blessing of a speech. But it was like, wait, you guys already wrote the script before the thing was done. You guys didn't even need to hear a word. You already had this already filled out because he didn't even say anything of substance. And it's kind of the same thing here. It's like the games are not giving you anything. So let's just like already rewrite this thing. Let's just get those questions ready, get the answers ready. Let's just kind of make sure that we know where we're at, so this can be a smooth post-game call. And it's like, I could understand that. Like, that's where, to me, it's like, well, if it could happen in the biggest political sphere in the world, I can imagine it can happen in the little NHL.
Yeah. Well, I think the media is like, they must be afraid to speak up. It seems like, because like
they're paid, Colin.
Sure, but they're paid. But what I'm saying is that, like, what I don't know. I mean, it's just the way I see it is they drive the conversation that fans think. Like, fans listen to the media and then they form an opinion based off those opinions. Sure, they're paid, but it doesn't mean that you can just have Elliot Friedman like go out and say, "Oh, I think this is corrupt, this is crap," all that stuff, because it's like it's his job. But you can't just shit on his own, like, what he does. Like, you know what I'm saying? You can't just be completely honest with that aspect, or you get in trouble for it.
I think that Colin, he is told talking points like, these are the teams to push this year. These are the teams we're going to let win. This is the eventual winner. Push them as kind of like an underdog, but a potential cup 10. I think it's that mapped out of like, okay, this is how we're going to push this narrative. Here, media members, this is what we want you saying. This is the narrative to push this year with each team.
And just like most things, like, you know, the reason why we even bring this up is because we see so much of the same stuff over and over again that seems to be kind of there's nothing to back it or prove these thoughts or trains of thought, because we're watching the same stuff. Like, you can't get, there's no other evidence that you could provide that would change the narrative in which the way we see the game and the way that they apparently see the game. Like, they're almost like, there's no way you can alter that. There's no catalyst. So that's why it's such a crazy thing for us to say, like, how does this happen? But then you think about it, it's like, well, when every single media member does this, and then the one guy who speaks up never gets traction because that just never happens. It's like, well, what does that guy think? I mean, look, that's probably why we haven't blown up by now. I think that's why we aren't millionaires yet, because we're just against the grain, right? Like, but no, I think that's totally a thing, and it's all in sorts of media have that bias of, like, if you're not on the toed of the line, you're not getting exposure, and we're just make sure you don't get it or get these guys more exposure.
Sorry to interrupt. If I was in the media, I'd be fired in like 5 hours because I would speak my mind too much.
Exactly, Colin. Exactly. They would tell you, we want you to go out and say this.
I wouldn't do it,
and you would say, well, actually, I think the team's problems are this. And then they would let you go quickly, and they would just say, "Oh, you're not giving the messaging we want you to give," and play it off like you weren't obedient, right? And you would never get deep enough to see all this. But the guys who go and say exactly what they want them to say, then they give them a little more, and eventually they rise up to the top like an Elliot Friedman, and they push those, right? And then not only that, then they're given inside scoops from teams, right? Like, oh, breaking trade, right? And that's how you move your way up, and it's a whole systemic culture that way, right? And it just, when you look at it, there's so many like things like the media we've talked about where you go, how do they even come to this? Like, how are they even watching the same game? It makes no sense. But once you start looking at it this light, it starts to make a lot more sense. You go, oh yeah, this perfectly maps out with what I'm seeing.
And honestly, it's a crazy, like, I try to explain this to other people too when it comes to basically anything. Like, it comes off as somewhat conspiratorial, I guess. Like, like, oh my gosh, we can't believe this is happening. But it's more so just like open-mindedness to like the potential for anything. Because at the end of the day, money drives people to do crazy things, and we know that. So it's more so just like, who knows? And same thing too. We're not trying to drag these guys through the mud saying that they're puppets or anything like that. We're just essentially presenting a potential scenario in which at this point we don't really fair. I know, but fair. I'm saying I'm not attacking these guys personally one-on-one here.
No, I'm not either.
Saying as a whole, we believe this potentially
I don't want
could be
people
happening.
listening to this podcast saying I'm attacking. I'm not. Like, just the way I see it, it's a fair point. I'm allowed to say that, but I'm not attacking. Like,
and at the same time, it's like we're just trying to hold the media accountable.
Yeah,
we're not
we're allowed to do that. We're fans.
Exactly.
Like, we're allowed to have an opinion. So I'm not going to come on this podcast and sugarcoat bullshit. Like, I'm just not going to do that. We can. That was pretty
wait. I think it's way more conspiratorial to say that, like versus what we're saying. It's way more conspiratorial to say there's millions and billions of dollars involved and no one's getting greedy and breaking the rules. That seems like a conspiracy theory to me. That's a fucking hell of a conspiracy theory. Never in the history of the world has that happened.
And here we welcome the political discussions to our podcast.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like, honestly, 100%. And honestly, that is like, I can't remember the exact line, but there was one line that said, to not believe is just as much, or is almost more of buying into the possibility of something. Like, essentially, me believing that there could be something going on is probably more accurate than you believing that nothing ever bad could happen, right? And it's just to your point. So it's,
anyone who fully believes what they're being told, you can't even, they're just puppets. Like, they're sheep. Their opinion is no longer valid.
Like if you listen to this podcast for anything other than entertainment value and act like, just don't take anything I say for a word, just so you know. Like we're not here to spit facts for you. We're not here to be your opinions. Like, and it's exactly that. We're just here to have fun. But so many people stand behind this opinionated stance, and we believe like, oh, that's the thing. Like, we don't know shit.
There's a lot of people out there. I don't want to say like they're dumb. It's just
they're dumb.
They're dumb.
Yeah, they're dumb. Okay, there's a lot of people on Twitter like who are, I'm sorry, they're stupid. They read an opinion and they go, that's the opinion I'm going with. I'm not even gonna think about it, why it makes sense. I'm just gonna go with it. But no, you read an opinion, then you think in your head, does that make sense? In my opinion, does that opinion make sense? And then you formulate your own goddamn opinion. But people don't do that because they're stupid. It drives me nuts. All you have to do.
That is super true.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more.
No, that's what a lot of Canucks fans do too. They see something, a lot of our media writes, and they go, that's the opinion. That's correct.
They just regurgitate a narrative. It's
think for yourself. Yeah.
It's such a societal thing that we become so lackadaisical, even to the point that we don't even want to like verify news anymore. Like, we're just like, Twitter, I don't want to click another app. I'm good here. Let's just see what's got. Yeah, that's good. I'm good.
We're gonna get canceled at this rate. We're talking against world elites and using the word.
I know.
Well, it's okay. We'll never make $1 off this, so they can't cancel us. It'll be in the internet somewhere.
No, so we can talk about I don't want to talk too much about. Okay, so let's have a big long discussion on Schmidt and Alexander Edler. That's what I think. No. Okay, so when I say our offense isn't an issue, I mean like defensively. If you look at our team, that's the issue. Like, offensively, we're not great, but defensively, we're horrible, and we always have been. So right now, we're without our like, what, 2 centers, right? 2 regular centers, I believe it is.
We're missing 3 centers.
3 centers. Okay, 3. So we're missing 3 centers right now. So I'm not totally going to attack our offense just because I know it's capable of. But defensively, going forward, we have Hughes, Schmidt. I'm drawing a huge blank. I don't have the information in front of me. I'm drawing a blank.
Sorry, Hughes, Schmidt, Myers.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, and then O'Levy, who actually, O'Levy is retired now. He doesn't even exist, apparently. So
yeah, you might as well hang him up.
Yeah, I know. So that's who we have going forward. Whether you like it or not, we have Schmidt and Myers. They're going to be in our top 4 because top 6, let's say, even though they're paid to be in the top 4. So, I mean, I still like 3 of those guys. I still like Schmidt. Myers, I don't. Myers has been okay lately. Like, he's been a lot better, but it's still not a great top 4. I don't know. It's pretty meh the way I see it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had to replace Edler. I don't even see the point bringing Edler back. Like I don't really want to have I don't know. I mean, a third pairing role, 1.5, 2 million maybe. Bring him back.
Well, I guess here's the thing, though. If you look at it, like you said, there's not those 4 players being our top 4 isn't realistic. So let's say saner heads prevail. Maybe in 2-3 years, by the time we have a new coach, they finally put Myers and Ulevy together. The third line pairing, really, and then you can utilize them in other ways. Use them on the
great
PK.
third pairing.
Yeah, like phenomenal. Like that's fine, perfect. They'll be perfect together. Then you've got Nate Schmidt and Quinn Hughes. So, to your question, I think one of the points you had was we need a long-term partner for Quinn Hughes.
Yeah, we do.
And a lot of people have suggested that Nate Schmidt and Quinn Hughes would work together because
they haven't though.
because Nate Schmidt has worked with whatever Shea Theodore, which he might have just been hugging his back and getting a free ride. Mm-hmm. So realistically, we're looking at Hughes as number 1, Schmidt as our number 2 line, and our number 3 is Myers and Ulevy. Mm-hmm. So now it's about filling those 2 voids, and that's why Edler doesn't make sense anymore, unless you're getting him at a league minimum deal, and he's literally being the Sammy Salo 7th defenseman, but he's just on PK. Not power play. Like, that's the only way that makes sense. So you've still got 2 spots to address now. I don't think we have anyone in the pipe that is going to be NHL level at all besides Ulevy.
Not anytime soon, at least.
I mean, don't we have
Jet Woo and whatnot, but they're not ready. They're not going to be.
Don't we have the one we just got, Germo?
We also Germo. No, he was like a third round pick. I'm talking about Rathbone. Rathbone's a guy who's expected to come up pretty soon.
Oh God!
I'm sick of hearing it about Rath. I don't honestly want to hear anything about anyone who plays for the Utica Comets, because if they're not have played to the NHL for our team in the last 5 years, they're not going to play in the NHL. That's just it. Honestly, Cole Lind, I don't want to hear about how Cole Lind is the next. I don't want to hear about Cole Lind being the next guy. Like, he hasn't played in our team yet. He's not going to play. Like, look at our lineup.
That's fair. I can't
like
argue
even
that.
Our defense, Jet Woo, sure. Like maybe one day. I don't know anything about him.
I give him a 5%.
Well, Patrick Johnson was really high on Jack Rathbone.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck what Patrick Johnson thinks.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of past what his thinking is. No, I'm just kidding. I get that. I mean, but at the same time.
What do you honestly think the odds is, Colin?
I can't form an opinion yet.
Give me a percentage chance that you think he turns into a pretty good NHL defenseman.
I cannot. He plays on our team full time.
An opinion.
I'm basing it off of just my history with watching hockey. Maybe a 10% shot. Maybe.
I give him 10. Honestly, and this is why. Like I just said, if none of these guys have broke our lineup in the last 4 years with the personnel we have, what are you doing?
You realize Rathbone's been like he's only like 20 years old.
No, he's older than that.
No,
he's like 23.
We just signed him. He wasn't even. He was playing college hockey just last year.
Yeah.
And once again, to Patrick Johnson's point, when you get someone out of the NCAA, they are what they are. There's not a whole lot of movement there.
And remember when Brogan Rafferty? He was supposed to be the fucking god of our prospect pool, and look at him. He can't even fucking.
I never heard anyone say that.
Dude, he was like leading the AHL in points.
That doesn't mean I know, but that's a separate thing, is what I'm saying.
Dude, there was so much hype.
I don't remember seeing that at all.
Oh my God.
People were hyping him, not scouts.
Okay, if you want to bank on one of these guys, sure. I don't.
I'm not saying I'm banking on. I'm just saying I don't think it's fair to treat Rathbone like he's a 7th round pick who's going to be an ECHLer the rest of his career. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. I'll say this. He is 21. He played 2 years and he played 2 years at Harvard. He's a smart kid. He might be able to figure it out based on being able to utilize some tools. He may still have some development there. All I'm saying is pretty much everyone else. What else you got for me? There's not like anyone who hasn't been playing for Utica for under a year. What do you got? What do you got going for you?
Our prospect pool is not deep enough to be banking on one of the guys coming up and making a big impact. I'm sorry, it's just not even close.
No. And this is my one realization of Jim Benning. Is like, I heard that you were this great drafter. Why am I not seeing these guys come up through Utica? Why am I not seeing these guys actually progress to be good NHL assets that even we can move, right? And so realistically, I'm throwing the whole tank out. Whoever we drafted last year, I did see some stuff on Yermo. He's actually done pretty well in the league he's at, playing in Finland, I imagine. I saw some highlights. He's doing pretty good offensively. Once again, who knows? He might be 2 years out. So realistically, we're looking at filling almost every void, especially on defense, those 2 spots, by free agency.
Yeah, I want to step in. I want to step in because I haven't given my thoughts on the defense. But now you guys have talked about Edler not making sense.
I think their pairing really does.
And like, well,
but I'm saying if you look at this presentation of players,
I know. Yeah, I know.
Still, there really isn't a spot.
I agree with you, but the problem is he has to make sense at this point because he's by far your best penalty killing defenseman. It's not even close, and without him, our PK would be even worse. So there's only there's the most important piece I see moving forward is a really, really, really great shutdown defenseman that can play with Hughes and take Edler's spot on the penalty kill. It's by far our biggest need. You have to get it.
Hey, and you know what? Maybe for all I know, maybe Jack Rathbone might be the guy. He is a left-handed defenseman. Maybe he fills that role.
He needs to be right. He needs to be right, though.
What?
We need a right side for Hughes. We gotta get it right.
Edler's not playing with Hughes.
No, but I'm saying you need to fill both those voids at the same time. Guy who takes Edler's spot on the PK and plays with Quinn Hughes on the top pair. You need that with one guy.
Why? Why?
Because you have 2 voids.
I know, but you got to bring in 2 defensemen regardless. So if you pick 2 with those assets that separate, they don't need to be in one person, is what I'm saying. Like,
well, I just see it I see it being okay. Maybe it doesn't have to be one guy, but I see it being very plausible, right? The type of player you want with Hughes is very defensive.
Mm-hmm.
So he should be also the guy who takes Edler's spot, right? That's kind of how it doesn't have to be.
I got you. I just mean that you don't really need to put all the eggs in the basket for that piece. Because what if, like I said, I liked Jordy Ben playing with Quinn Hughes more than anyone this year.
One thing I'll say to that is Mark Mathot played with Eric Carlson in Ottawa for a long time, did a damn good job on the first pairing, and Mark Mathot is never considered to be a top 2 defenseman.
Who have been Hughes's best pairing so far? Chris Tanev, easy, whatever.
Yeah.
Luke Shen, honestly.
Yes.
Luke Shen was great.
Luke Shen.
Number 2, yeah,
like,
for sure.
Luke Shen was
and we could have brought him back for nothing.
I know.
And I would bring him back next year if he's able to play at the NHL level and keep up.
You need a guy who's I haven't minded Hamonic, but I just don't want to rely on him. I just don't feel comfortable relying on him with his.
No, Dylan convinced me. It was a waste of time. Yeah. I was right. I thought we would replace him. I thought he was the right guy. It's a waste of time.
No, I know. I
got so many bad decision making.
I know.
Who? Hamonic?
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I think we don't need to break the bank and overthink it, but we just need a guy who can play good defense.
You know what's the most annoying part about all of this defense thing is I think we could have brought him back for league minimum, and I think he's a way better defenseman than some of these guys we're paying a lot of money. Is fucking Oscar Fantenberg, and we let him go. He's not even in the NHL. $1 million would have brought him back, and
I've got a feeling I got a feeling he wanted to be over there because I just saw he re-signed for 2 years with the club he's with. So I got a feeling he just wanted to go back home. I could be wrong. It could have been just like what's that freaking one Russian guy we had? I forget his name.
Tramkin.
Yeah, same thing. You might have just, you know what? I've hopped around 3 different teams. I don't really like this. I just want to go home. I get that sometimes.
I get
because otherwise it doesn't make sense. Like he could be easily making up double his salary here.
Yeah.
So
dude, I think he's a better defenseman than most of our defensemen. He'd probably be our 3rd best defenseman.
Well, he was also playing limited roles too, right?
Dude, he's playing with Myers in the playoffs, and they're playing big.
No, he's playing with Jordy Ben, and they honestly looked good together.
Yeah. He wasn't playing times. He did well in this role, but I wouldn't sit here and say he's a top 2. I'd relax over there a little bit with that because I'm not saying you're saying that, but
I don't think he's a top 2, but I just think Hughes is better.
Yeah. In his role,
who else is better than him on our defense? Maybe Myers.
He wasn't playing top 4 minutes ever though. He was not. He was on the 3rd pairing, and he did very good in that role. He's a very good 3rd pairing, but I never once saw him in the top 4 role. So I'm not going to say.
Yeah, and maybe he can't. Maybe I'm wrong, but at this point, like I think maybe Myers is a better player with the way Myers has been playing this season. Maybe Myers is a better player, and then I struggle. I mean,
what do you mean Myers is better? Do you think Myers is better than what you said, or what do you mean there?
Well, like I think he's better than Oscar Vandenberg. Like last year, I would have said Vandenberg's the better defenseman, but Myers has had actually a decent regain of his form. I mean, Yes. I mean, Colin, you get all excited, but here's the problem, Colin. I am completely honest and unbiased, and I just tell it how it is. Whereas you, on the other hand, maybe not totally that way.
No, I'm a bit of both. I'm honest and not. I'm honest, but I'm also like I don't harp.
He's honestly enthusiastic. Let's just go with that.
I'm enthusiastic.
He gets a little bit off the handle, but he comes back to earth when it's ready.
Exactly. And you just harp.
But I call it how I see it. If I've made a statement I see different, I will say that I was wrong. Like, and I'll say, this is that I don't like is
okay. Anyway,
this is what you do. You give it 2 games and you go, he's the worst guy ever. He sucks. He's never gonna be better ever. That's what you do.
No,
I don't do that.
Yeah, no. I'll say this. Dylan is we live day to day right now, okay? Let's just say that. That's how Dylan lives.
Yeah.
It's just like Jim Benning. Perfect. So it's perfect.
And that's a recipe for success, isn't it?
So one thing I want to say is I'm looking at this list. I'm looking at this list of unrestricted free agents coming up.
Okay.
And I'm trying to see who would be potentially a guy that could fit in there. Honestly, I feel like Arizona has a handful of players that could make sense. Although he's a lefty, I think Jarmelson is one of those guys that if he's still got the legs, he could fill that role. I don't know. Or someone, honestly, I really have liked for a long time. I haven't seen him play lately. That was Jason Demers. Jason Demers actually could fit that role with Quentin Hughes fairly well. He's only 33. He's right-hand defenseman. He's a shutdown guy. He reminded me a lot of Justin Braun when they played.
I heard he's horrible defensively, though.
Really? Oh, I don't know. Yeah, like I said, I don't watch these guys. I'm just looking at the list here.
I know. I'm just saying we tried to trade for him a couple years ago, and then I looked up a scouting report of him, and he's not very good defensively. So
neither are we. So maybe it'll be a good fit. Adam Larson. Maybe we could bring Eric Gudbranson back. That'd be cool. He's playing pretty well in Ottawa.
Fuck, he's so bad. Did you guys watch him last time we played Ottawa? It was pathetic. He's so bad.
It's so crazy though to think. Like, I don't know if it's just kind of like a boys club or what, but like to see how players can still stick in the league though, right? Like look at a guy we haven't had
paychecks.
We addressed that he wasn't really there when he played on our team. Then he went to Pittsburgh and then he went to Ottawa. So it's like, he's still getting paid, still doing it. But it's like, really?
I don't know who he's like performing fellatio on to keep getting this constant paycheck from the NHL.
It's like Del Zotto. It's like Del Zotto too, same thing.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
How they're making more than enough money to have a good living, so I don't blame them at all for it. But I don't. They keep
remember when we traded and the Sportsnet guys were like, "Oh, Pittsburgh's done well," and what did they?
With who?
When
Gudbranson?
When Gudbranson was traded to Pittsburgh, and they're like, "Oh, Pittsburgh's done well. The Canucks are gonna regret giving up Gudbranson," and like. It was so clear that they just didn't pay attention to our games. They had no idea how bad Gudbranson was. And then he couldn't get ice time at Pittsburgh. He was awful. He's moved around. Oh, my God. They had no idea. Like, these guys were paid millions, had no idea.
This is where I want to – this is a perfect lead off what I was about to say is I'm so sick and tired of the media driving this conversation about Travis Green. Like, I know what you were saying, but what I'm saying it correlates to that because I've just had enough of it. Like I want to make like a movement, like you do the Free Levy movement. I want to do like the
Fire Green,
not Fire Green, but like the media. Like, you gotta stop pumping his tires. And I want to create a movement on
fake
that.
News.
So what's that?
Fake news.
Something like that. Hashtag fake news. Anytime a media guy says something good about Travis, like I wrote a media guy the other day. Obviously, didn't look at the message I sent because I'm irrelevant in his life, but. He said he made this big tweet about Travis Green and how, in the last 10 games, rating 2, and the Green deserves all this praise, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, are you watching these games? If it's not for Demko, we don't win any of these games. Like, get your head out of your ass. What are you talking about? And it's just stuff like that. It's like, why are these media guys getting away with this? They're just driving this conversation, and it's so stupid and annoying to listen to. I can't handle it.
Welcome to the alt-right hockey network.
Just stop. Just stop. Just be honest. Watch the games. Be honest. Quit driving this conversation, because the more you do that, the more fans believe you, and then they. I just don't get it how these media guys think Travis Green's this great coach. And then today, Daryl Sutter, which we're going to talk about soon. Daryl Sutter in Calgary. It's funny. I like Daryl Sutter because he's a straight shooter. He doesn't BS. Johnny Gaudreau plays his 600th game, I think, the other night, and then Sutter's like, what do you feel about Gaudreau playing 600th game? And then he's like, oh, I hope it's a hell of a lot better than his 599th game. And that's what he said. And you never hear Green say that. It's like, I don't know. I feel like Green's just too nice with his players. Like it's clear. Like he won't say anything bad about them. And it's like, I just want a coach who can be honest and not throw his players under the bus, but just be honest. Like seriously, I just feel like he's not honest enough. I don't know.
The media is definitely running mad cover for Travis Green. I mean, they are trying to suppress the Fire Green narrative so hard.
So frustrating.
It's crazy how much cover they're running for this guy.
It's stupid, honestly. It really is. I can't handle it anymore. It's just silly. I write them all the time. They ignore me, but like, I get it. They're not going to come on our podcast and crap talk the guy, but quit pumping his tires.
I would guess, Colin, that Francesco doesn't want to fire him and pay money to him and a new coach right now. Yeah. So I would guess that the organization is putting pressure on the media to run this narrative, to suppress any Green Fire talk.
This is what I don't understand. Like, I've tried to lay this out a little bit when we had I forget which one, maybe it was Jeff Patterson on, but I'm like, or maybe it was Patrick Johnson. Regardless, I was saying, like, not like Travis Green hasn't done anything, honestly. Like, I look at his resume, I see nothing. I just looked, I just did the math. I'm not great at math, but I think I can use a calculator. And I believe his total win percentage as a head coach all time at every level is .440. He's winning 44% of his games at every level. And when you go from there too, I say, look at, he took over the Portland Winterhawks, who had three guys who put up like 300 points in 55 games in the WHL, rode them to a championship. Wow, gets a nice upgrade after half a season as a head coach to the Utica Comets, who missed the playoffs in the first year, somehow get to the finals in the next year. They lose, and then they're out in the first round the next year. And then they miss playoffs, and what do? We give them an upgrade. We just pay them more. Now he's the head coach of our team. Let's miss playoffs 2 years in a row and then maybe make it. And like we said, oh, look at this bubble. That's what Travis Green can actually do when he coaches. No, maybe that's just what the players can actually do when they play and they don't listen to the guy. I don't know. But now look at, we're just sitting here again, once again, just floating by. And like you said, you're right. No, it was goaltending. I'll give you that. It was goaltending. And just like now, we're almost getting there because of goaltending. And maybe we need to keep Ian Clark, and that's about it.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, scrap the rest of this freaking crew. I'm so sick of it. Even Nolan Bumgarner, I loved you. You were the captain of the Manitoba Moose. You live and breathe Canucks and our team. But I'm sorry, it's not working.
Yeah, Newell Brown.
This is so ridiculous.
All those guys, fire everyone. Bring back Ian Clark. Give Ian Clark all the money you're going to pay these guys if you need to. I don't even care. Bring back Ian Clark, fire the rest of them. Quit driving this media BS Green thing. It's just so annoying.
You better temper your expectations and suppress those emotions, Colin, because it's not changing anytime soon. I've pretty much come to terms that I think we're seeing another season of this. Yeah. I don't think this is the end. I'm pretty sure we're going to get this in 2022.
Wait, well, hold on. If you re-sign Green, you got to do more than a 1-year extension. If you're going to see this again.
I don't think they will. Why? I think they'll probably do a 1-year extension, Colin.
There's no way.
I think so. I would put money on
just like you said. If Aquilini's think he's our guy, they would have already given him a 2-year, because then they would know that okay, we already have to do this anyway.
One guy who I do not want to ever see back in, not a knock on him. I just don't think he's even good as Newell Brown. I don't want to ever see him back here again because I don't think he's good. I really don't.
It's just amazing too how so many assistants of ours leave and have success too, right? Like it's just ridiculous. Even I'm losing his name right now, but he's the head coach in Dallas.
Rick Bowness.
Rick Bowness. Yeah, same thing. Yeah. And then he went to Tampa, almost won a cup there. Like it's just crazy how we let these guys walk, and then we sit here with literally amateurs at our helm. And once again, too, like if I ever sat down with a guy and had a beer, me and Travis Green would probably be cool.
Yeah,
but
I'm sure he's good.
If you sat there and coached the team the way you should, and sat there and took a little accountability when you should, maybe we wouldn't be yelling at you through our stupid 3-person podcast.
No, this isn't us trying to shit talk anyone at all or degrade anyone as human beings. We're just giving our opinions. I just don't want people freaking out at us. But you're right. It's just we're fans, and these guys are the leaders of our team, and it's just not good. It's shit.
I'm almost certain that we get this pretty much identical team and identical management next season, and we watch this again.
I don't think I could do it.
I'm so bored.
I don't think I could do it.
I know.
I can't keep watching this team go on these streaks and have Green get all the credit when Demko is making 200 saves a game. Like I can't do it anymore. They're just so.
I'm strap in, Colin, because I've come to terms with this a couple months ago, and it's time for you to come to terms with what we're saying.
Put a life vest on, brother.
I've come to terms.
Coming to port soon.
What do you mean come to terms? I've been saying this. I agree with you. I've been saying this for the last.
No, I mean coming to terms with the fact that this is going on for another year. You need to come to terms. I came to terms with that like a couple months ago.
Well, then they might lose the fan. I don't know if I can support it. It's too frustrating.
Yeah, this might be the 2015 year where I don't watch a single game if they do this exact same crap back.
Just so everybody knows, I wanted to quit watching the Canucks, but Colin said we have to keep watching because of the podcast. So just so everyone knows, this is how annoyed I am with this team. I watch because Colin wants to do a podcast, but if I didn't have to, I would not watch this product. That's how bad it's gotten.
Well, yeah. I mean, I like doing the podcast. I don't want to stop doing that. I love it, but I mean, I'm with you.
It is. It just feels like a lot of the time I got a lot better things I could do with 3.5 hours.
Yeah,
I agree. I completely agree, and I don't blame you at all. I can't even degrade you for that. Because
no, you can't. No, you can't. I won't let you. Just kidding. What's our next topic?
Give me something new.
Talk about I want to talk about Calgary. I want to talk about Calgary because I think in the off season, I didn't say this, but it's easy to say this now, but in my own mind, well, Austin can still hear us, by the way, he just left. I think Treliving is completely overrated as a GM. I think it's his job to realize that Monahan and Gaudreau are two guys that need to change the scenery. At least one of them does, and he should have seen this already, and he holding on to them, and I'm grading him for that. Like, you can bring in Markstrom and Tanev, great, that was a good move, but your job's also to see the chemistry of this team and the leadership and know that something's going on. And they've never performed in the playoffs, and it's his job to see that. So I think he gets the axe this summer. I think he should. I think he's had more than enough time to fix it. He has enough guys on his team where he could make a trade, and enough guys who are valuable. Like, one of Gaudreau or Monahan needs to get traded. They're not going to work in Calgary, and Daryl Sutter's a good coach, and he's already calling out Gaudreau. He's already saying, I don't care how many games he's played in the NHL. He played like shit last game. Good for him. Gaudreau's a problem. He is. He's a good skilled player, but he's almost like a Phil Kessel. Like, okay, that's a bad comparison because Kessel's good in the playoffs, but you know what I mean? Like, he's one of those guys who just puts up the points but doesn't really give an effort, and it's never going to change. I don't know. Like,
okay, so I agree with parts of what you're saying, but I disagree pretty heavily with you. I agree that Gaudreau and Monahan are a problem, but I don't agree that Treliving's a bad GM. So to me, this is what I see.
Okay.
It's really hard to pull the trigger on trading away probably the two biggest pieces of your core, right? Your young core. And yes, it was the right thing to do, but I get the hesitancy to doing that. And I think a lot of people wouldn't do that. And yes, it's a valid knock on him as a GM, and it needs to be done, and it should have been done. The perfect GM would have done it, but I think it's very understandable how you would be hesitant to make that move. Second of all, I think he's done great cap management and cap structure. Great with his re-signing of players. He's done great with his trades. He's done great with his drafting. He's done great in free agency. So I think there's what he's done has been really nice, the team he built, but he just built it around the wrong core pieces and didn't realize his
That's
core
fair.
pieces are wrong. So I think, yes, it's a one really, really big mistake and something that, but I also think it's correctable. And I think that I think he's a good GM. I actually like
That's
Treliving.
the fair response to what I said. I will give you that. That's fair. I will say, I was about to say something. God damn, I just forgot it. I was about to say something really good and I forgot it.
No worries.
Never
Well,
mind.
you'll figure it out. It'll come back. The one thing, like I say, I don't know, when it comes to most things, honestly, in life, like meritocracy has to reign through. Like what you have done, your resume really is all you can judge some of these guys on, especially when it comes to executives and like things like that. So when I look at Brad Treliving, I think, well, first of all, we know he's Jim Treliving's kid, who's big in Alberta, big in Canada. There's a lot of prevalent, I don't know, business and things going on there. So they're a big name there. I could understand how it felt maybe like an impulse move, because when I look at what else he had done, he was the assistant GM of Phoenix at the time, and their head of hockey operations or something like that, the president of hockey operations. And I'm like, well, I don't know. Did he do a great job in Arizona? like didn't their team wasn't doing that great? I don't know if it was him or the GM, but either way, that team didn't actually has never accomplished much under what he's done. Same with Calgary. It's like, I don't know if he was just kind of like, hey, this is an opportunity. This is someone that makes sense from here, this, that, the other. Let's try this out. But when you look at what he's actually done, it's like, you don't have much of a resume behind you. That's why I've always said, at the end of the day, even if Jim Benning doesn't work out here and his time with us didn't make sense, like when I look at his resume, all the other places he's done, they've had some sort of success, whether that's because of him or if it's just him being the good piece to this thing that was already being successful. But when I look at Brad Treliving, I'm just like, I don't see a whole lot there, and that's why I'm more towards Colin on this one. But I don't think he's a bad GM. I just think that maybe it was a bad circumstance.
Did I ever say he was bad?
I gotta respond to this though.
Oh no!
I gotta respond to. You said that you think he's very overrated.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, well,
that's what you said.
That's fair.
So I want to respond to this though, because I think I agree with what you're saying, but I don't think you could take such a surface level approach to things like that. I think the context of this is very important. Yes, a trend like that should be checked on, monitored, and looked into. I don't think what you're saying warrants a judgment on someone or a firing of anyone. I think it warrants a deep analysis of someone's performance, right? Like it's just like when you have like a murder suspect, right? And you think, oh my God, all these things align, but we don't have proof. You wouldn't say, oh my God, he's the murderer. No, you'd say, okay, we have to take a hard look into this guy and see if he was the reason that it's done. It's the exact same thing in this. You have to take the context of all the moves he's made and see if they made sense and if they were good moves. And I think when you dive into that for Treliving, I think that you would go, yeah, no, they actually are pretty good moves. Yeah, some things didn't work out or this or that. I actually I think he's a really good GM, and I would love to see. I don't think they'll fire him. I think they'll let him try to restructure this thing. But if he is fired, I want to see him get another shot at this, because I think that he could learn from what he's done, the mistakes he's made here, and make a really good team one day.
I have a response to that. I'm not saying it's a bad GM. I'd say what I see is a GM who he's had more than enough time to see an issue, and he hasn't fixed the issue, the core issue, the main issue. This core has been around. If this core had been around for 2 years, I wouldn't be saying this, but it's been like 6 years. It's been like 6 years. They've never had playoff success. They had the 1 year behind Bill Peters where they had 50 wins, and that's it. That's all they've had. As a GM, he's done good in other areas, but the core issue of why this team isn't an elite team, he hasn't fixed that, and he's ignoring it almost at this point. And when you say big trades are hard to make, Dubois and Columbus just made one. Big trades do get made. So they do. They're hard, but they do get made.
I think he's a smart guy, and I think he's probably sits back and realizes exactly what you're saying. He made a mistake on that, and I bet you that if he looks back on it, he will assess and say, okay, I should have done that. And that's why I'd like to see him get another shot, is because I think he'd probably learn from this mistake.
So here's my pushback. Here's my pushback. Him and Jim Benning were hired around almost the same time, maybe a year apart, right? Like 2013, he was hired.
I don't remember. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I just looked
1
up.
year.
Okay.
So 1 year apart. One fan base, or at least the one fan here who is calling the firing for Jim Benning with our team. A lot of people are saying that he's been terrible. He hasn't done anything. And then we look at Brad Treliving and we're calling him a good GM that's made mistakes. Seems like so comparable to me that their moves are almost identical. And everything he's done has been a revolving door. Because bringing in Mike Smith, wow, that was a good one. Like bringing in Cam Talbot, wow, that was a good one. Like here, let's see what else. Maybe Markstrom will work.
Okay,
let's try another. No, I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. So you want to sit here and say that he's done some nice things, but when you sit there and like we've even said this about Calgary before, we're surprised they hadn't done anything. They fired multiple coaches. That clearly hasn't worked. They brought back the guy that brought them success all those years ago. Cool, like. That'd be like us going out firing Jim Benning and firing our coach and bringing in Mark Crawford. And it's just like, you know what, let's try this again because we got nothing else going. So I don't see that he's made any positive progression.
So important, though, Austin.
I know. I don't know everything about the Calgary Flames. I don't know everything.
You got to look at this team.
You got to let me talk. That's what you got to do.
Yeah,
how about
Dylan,
that?
Let him talk for the long. Come on.
How about that? I know it's tough to sit here and get burned. It's just terrible. I know it's hard. I know you got to fight back. I know you want to, but this is just the reality of it. I don't see that he's made any major moves. Bringing in Dougie Hamilton, wow, that worked really well. Like I just don't see anything. Let's stick around with Mark Giordano at 47 years old. Give him an extension for $7 million. Why not? Like I just don't get any of the moves, and that's why I'm just saying meritocracy.
You don't get the moves. Wow.
I look at the resume. What has he solved? Besides signing Chris Tanev and Markstrom, which was easy for any team in the NHL, besides two other ones.
It's been so obvious for so long that there's a core issue there, and he has not solved it.
This is why I don't think they're comparable, right? Like, I don't think
because he's Jim Benning. That's why
I don't think Jim Benning and Treliving are comparable at all. Because what you have with Jim Benning is a guy who got really good core pieces and then built horribly around them, and then you got a guy who got really bad core pieces and built really well around them. That's the difference.
Okay. Yeah.
Right, so I'd way rather have the guy who can build around the core. He just had the wrong core and didn't realize it. Than the guy who had a really good core and
makes your team. You're not going to win anything.
But he's never Jim Benning is never going to do well because he can't build around one. Right, that's the problem. If he like Treliving could fall into a good core and then build around it. Benning can't build around. You could give Benning the best core in the world, and he wouldn't be able to build around it.
I know. I'm just saying, like
that's the problem, right?
If you're going to compare those two things, you can't call Jim Treliving a good GM then.
No, I'm explaining why I think he is.
No, you can't. I would never hire a GM.
It's the same thing with like the owner conversation we had earlier, where like a few pods ago, where I said, yes, you want the perfect owner, but really the most important thing is he spends money because he could fall into having a really good team. If the guy's not willing to spend above the cap floor, you're never going to – it's the same thing with the GM. If he can build around a core, at least there's a chance he falls into the right core to build around, right? And you do win a cup.
I mean
Johnny Gaudreau and Sean Monahan were already on the team when he took over.
Right.
Like,
so
I feel like most of his – and so I would imagine a good GM would be able to move his most highest valuable asset.
That's not a – that's a weird
right.
argument.
That's the mistake he made.
You just said that he needs he doesn't need a good core. He needs a good core that's already there. I'm confused by what you're saying.
I guess
saying he had the wrong core, but he's able to build around a core, right?
He's really good at finding top 9 defense forwards. Is what you're saying? He's really great at finding top 9 forwards
for cheap. Yeah. So if he had the right,
but not
core,
like a number like one forward line. He's not good at doing that.
Exactly, he assessed his core wrong, but if he did have a good core group of players, if you put him with our roster, with Elias Pettersson, Brock Besser, right, he would be able to surround them with talent. Quinn Hughes, he'd be able to surround them with the supporting cast to put together a pretty good team.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that's fair. I know, but I don't know if that makes him a good GM.
a whole hell of a lot better than Benning is my point, right? He's a lot more interesting than Benning.
I think you're giving them a little too much credit given the success.
Yeah. And I mean, at the same time too, like it's been
That's
same thing.
opinion.
7 years, 8 years with him, and they've made the playoffs 4 times. You've lost in the round 1 twice, lost in the second round twice. So it took him 9 years to build a really great supporting cast, or 7 years to build a really great supporting cast. I understand Jim Benning hasn't been able to do that, but he has been able to draft all of these players that are our core. So this is why I don't understand the argument, because that feels like, hey, you know what? Give me a really good core. I'm sure I could find you some really decent players to surround them with. Like finding that gem in the rough is the harder part to me.
Can I say one thing? Sorry.
No.
With what you're Sorry. I think as a GM, it is a way harder job to build a core than it is to surround a core. It's a catastrophic difference.
Cap management is so key.
And here,
it's a catastrophic difference. The core makes your team. You don't, without a core, you don't have anything. Oh, you're wrong then. You're wrong.
I disagree. I think it's so hard to surround and manage a cap. The most important job is to manage that cap and bring in cheap contracts that play well and bring value.
That's the same thing with building a core, though. The same thing. You still have to manage a cap with building a core.
Finding good players, getting them to cheap, friendly contracts that still make sense.
Which he does, right? He got really good contracts. That's what's so good about him. He built an internal cap, right? A cap structure that they all agreed to sign for less than they were worth. That's a huge value. I don't understand why you guys are so negative on this guy. He drafted well. He had great cap management.
He had like 200 years to work with, and he hasn't done anything with it.
And he had fucking... His star players are Gaudreau and Monahan and Giordano.
So move one. He's done a million moves since he's been the GM.
And that's his one mistake. So fix that one mistake. It's so much better than Benning.
You haven't seen it, though.
10,000 mistakes. Like, what the fuck?
Okay, but how much time do you want him to realize it? 200 more years? Realize it and fix it, and then they'll say you're a good GM. But I'm not going to say it unless you know the issue and fix it.
I honestly don't know how you can even, like, what would you rather have? Like, would you rather have, like,
neither
10,000 fucking broken arm? Like, would you rather have a broken arm, a broken leg, a broken skull, or would you rather just have one leg amputated? I'd rather have one leg amputated, right? Because, okay, you got one problem. Now you got to solve that one fucking problem. But Benning has everything's a problem. Everything's a dumpster fire, right?
Not everything is. We have the core in place. And
that's all we got, though. He's created a disaster of a cap structure that
so here. The thing is I'll try and finish with this point. I'll try and finish with this point. Same thing too. Like, I don't know. Like, all I'm saying is I think both of you are just giving him too much credit. I just don't think that I feel like him and Jim Benning are almost completely comparable, one way or the other. And the media would want me to say that Jim Benning's bad and Brad Treliving's good. And that's kind of what's happening here. And so I'm just saying, I think their resumes are pretty comparable. And I will say this, having your core in place, I feel like gives you a better chance here. Don't even shake your head. You haven't even heard my point. All right. I'm saying having your core in place gives you a better opportunity to turn around every year. Just like Tampa Bay, they have their core in place and they're able to turn around every year because they're good at both. They bring in guys every year that can support on cheap contracts as they're young. But Stamkos, Point, Kucherov, Hedman, Vasilevsky, that's the core. Like, they don't really, same Cirelli, he's a great accessory piece. He's probably going to leave next year. They're going to have to bring someone else in. They went and trade for a Blake Coleman and they trade for Barclay Goodrow. That's someone who even they are like, we still aren't actually that good at finding these secondary pieces. We're just going to trade away our first round picks to get these guys. And it's worked out amazingly. So I just think that they're both the same guy. That's all I can say. They've been almost in tenure for the same time. We've missed playoffs more than they have. But to sit here and say that one is more successful than the other, I think is just an understatement at this point, because
I'm not trying to pick sides, but I agree.
Even
I know you do.
I'm not trying to pick sides, but you're
Shocker.
wrong. No. But
Colin agrees with his initial take. Oh my God, never saw it coming.
No, but here's my thing too: is like he's been very good at bringing players in.
To find out how Colin feels about Alex Edler.
There's a certain person in this podcast who's very upset right now. I'm not going to give names, but there's a certain person.
There's a lot of
no, you're just wrong.
Salt in the air.
No, I'm not wrong at all.
I think the Mexican salt water from those dolphins are getting you a little salty back there.
Yeah.
Change the
your opinion. I'm sorry, but you can have an opinion, but I'm allowed to say it's a stupid opinion. It's just it doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. It doesn't add up.
You're just straight up wrong.
It doesn't add up. It's 2 against 1, bitch.
No.
I don't care.
No, all I'm saying is at the end of the day, I think they're very comparable, and they both have been able to do nothing with what they've been able to. So we're sitting at the same spot. Like we're both sitting here fighting for 5th and 6th place. So that's really to say one is done successful and one is
this topic's over. Everybody knows how we feel.
Yeah,
we've gone on and on.
Dylan's done.
Everybody knows Austin and Colin don't like Treliving. I like Treliving. Moving on.
All right. Well, that's all I had in the books.
Oh, we didn't do Ulevi Gate.
Oh yeah.
Just play the freaking guy. We suck. All right. Just do it.
Like what?
Travis, just do it, please. Put Ulevi in. I miss him.
At what point is this just like criminal? Like, is it a fireable offense? I don't understand it.
Well, he's already playing basically to get he already knows he's screwed. So,
just why is no one talking about this?
I feel like kind of to your point earlier, even about how the NHL has kind of come to a cultural point. I think same with our team. Like we've come to a cultural point of like the media's everyone's already decided Travis Green is the best. Just like our last topic. Okay, we already know what's happening. Travis Green's the best coach there ever was. Jim Benning's the worst GM there ever was. You know, we don't know what we're doing. Tyler Myers is the best. Nate Schmidt's the best. You know, Ulevi can't play hockey. Like we decided this. This is already over. And for whatever reason, the GM, the owner, the executives, everyone in the team seems to be on board with that. And I don't know why. Like,
how can the media not talk about Ulevi? Like, how is this not like a serious storyline? You have this guy you drafted and looked good for like the 5 games he got, and like he's a high prospect and he's been injured. He finally gets his opportunity, plays pretty well, and it's not even run. Like, this should be criminal.
Because once again, the narrative's already set on him, right? Just like Jeff Patterson said, "Oh, I'm just happy to see that he's finally playing in the NHL." Like, no, the guy was a 5th overall pick. Like, no, he should be playing in the NHL, and we're seeing that he can do it. So put him in that place.
What's funny
We've already just come to the point that everyone's given up on him. So we're like, "Oh, Jack Rathbone, he's our new guy. He's the hot take now." Oh.
You know what's funny is any media guy who's come on this podcast and we've said that they go, "Well, Green has the job. What do you want him to do?" Like, that's not my point. I'm trying to
just like you, do your job.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't.
I know Patterson's pretty good, but yeah, I know.
Travis Green doesn't even do his job, so.
No, he doesn't. Yeah. It doesn't make sense. They should, what they should do is they should purposely keep drafting high draft picks and just not play them ever, and just waste them. That's what they should do, because that's what they're doing right now.
Especially when they show promise.
Yeah.
If they show promise, fucking bench them.
Yeah, bench
that guy.
What's promise? Doesn't mean anything. Fuck them.
Yeah, let's sign Jake Virtanen again. Why not?
But he has 4 goals in the game, his first game in the NHL. Bench him the rest of his career. He's not good enough.
Yeah. But the guy who doesn't play any defense, throw that guy on the top line again. Yeah. Try it again.
Play Virtanen. It doesn't make any sense. The decisions that are being made.
Let's just say the definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over again and getting the same response.
Yeah.
Expecting a different response, rather. A result, rather. Yeah. So
I honestly
we're just all insane. That's just it.
I honestly believe I would be a better general manager than Jim Benning.
At this point, honestly, I believe so too. Because I would have at least fired Travis Green by now and said, "Fuck you, Aquilini. I'm doing what I think needs to be done, you fucker." Like, if you gave me this job to do something, I'm doing my job. You want to fire me? Go ahead.
I know. And it's like these GMs, like if the owner doesn't agree with it, well, then walk away. You're loaded. You have a lot of money. Who cares? Walk away then. Stop, I don't know. I don't know how these guys work for an owner where they can't make their own decisions.
This is what's come about, though. You look at guys like Mike Babcock, not the best example, but like guys like Sutter and guys like Tortorella. It's like they just gone to a point where, like, if you're gonna hire me, you know what you're fucking getting. I'm not gonna babysit you. I'm not gonna tote your line. I'm gonna coach a team like I want. And if you don't like it, fucking fire me or don't hire me. That's just your decision. Where every other team or every other coach seems to, or at least when it comes to our team and some other teams, it's like, no, you're gonna do what we told you. I forgot. You didn't figure that out. And it's like, oh crap, I'm signed up for 4 years. I really want to. Okay, maybe I'm gonna just do what you told me to do. Yeah, and it's like most of these guys come in. It's just like no. And that's why, I mean, just like every job really, well, not every job, but especially when you're guys making decisions like this, it should be like, okay, you're hiring me to do a job, take a step back. Like the second you want to do this job, fire me and take the reins, because like there's no point being in this situation and not having complete control.
Yeah.
And same with the coach and the GM.
Danny would never be like that though. He doesn't have the balls to say that. He wouldn't say that.
I don't think anyone in our organization has the balls to say that.
I know.
Honestly, that's just what I mean. That's why it's like, oh crap, I'm going to Vancouver. Okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna do it Vancouver way. Where Tortorella came here and was like, "Fuck you guys, Sedin's get on the PK. I don't give a shit. Like you guys are doing everything. I'm gonna try it all because this is the way I coach a team."
Literally.
And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But
there's something we gotta touch on though. We gotta touch on the centers being injured, because it was almost Horvat too, but you got PD, Beagle, and Sutter. Yeah. And you need to go pretty deep into this because obviously we miss PD. What's been the most surprising to me is how I feel that we miss Beagle way more than we miss Sutter. I think it's clear that Beagle's significantly more important to this team than Sutter is. You definitely feel the impact of it. Our bottom six seems totally lost. And I think what we're seeing is just like a sneak peek of, well, we just don't have the depth in center for a situation like this. Like not even close. It's so bad. We got to move Miller in. And then you got Gaudet and Grayovac. Like it's just not good enough. It's so fucking bad.
I know.
And then you're getting a sneak peek of what our PK is going to be like 2 years from now with no Beagle and Sutter. And we still have Edler on that penalty kill. And it's a disaster. We're really seeing that if no one steps up and actually gets good at it, not play it. Like just playing it's not good enough. You have to actually get good at it. If no one does that and there's no Edler in there too, I mean, it's just going to be constant goals. And I'm going to make this prediction. And it's a 2-year-long prediction. It's the 2023 season when there's no Beagle, there's no Sutter, there's no Edler. I predict that this team offensively and goaltending wise and everything is going to be a good team, and we'll have the cap space open to make some signings, and offensively will be there, and our defense will look good on paper, but will be plagued by giving up goals on the penalty kill to the point where we can't have success, especially in a playoff scenario because of it.
I think it depends on who the coach is though. Right. Like that also plays a role, because I was saying this the other day. I think right now you should be grooming, obviously JT Miller still, like he could be your top penalty killer, honestly, in my mind, as your center. He could be there. You can have Tyler Mott. Those two could honestly probably work great together on your number one line as your forwards. Then you obviously have a Beagle, and I don't know if
Beagle will be gone.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna say I don't know if maybe at that point if he's even still potentially able to come back for a year or something like that. If they feel they need that piece to be on the edge or go over the fringe to be a contender, that might be an option. Just to be same thing. You're just doing PK, just getting you out there on high pressure situations where we need a win on the draw and things like that. But so then from there, once again, you're right. We need another center really to fill that role on the second line. But I was saying I don't know why Hoglander isn't being seen as a potential for that for the PK role. I mean, I could still get that argument of. I was gonna say, I get that argument of like, well, he's still trying to win games, so he's not gonna try something crazy. But like, the kid shows everything you need.
I know
for a PK.
Green is 100%. So goddamn stubborn. It's so stupid to watch. He's so stubborn.
Also too, like, I want to bring something up. Like, when PD comes back, if they're like, I don't know if you just get Horvat out of center. I don't know what the deal is with him. I don't know if you just for some reason was an outrageous take when Jeff Patterson was here, but why wouldn't you put Miller at center, put Horvat on the wing, and maybe Pearson if he comes back healthy together, and having Hoglander, PD, and Besser, because realistically at the end of the day, like it's so funny as I go back and listen to some of these clips how contradictory some things are. I mean, we do it to ourselves too, but sometimes these media guys come on and it's like, well, who's going to play left wing? Well, once they go into the zone, they aren't actually even really in their positions. They just kind of float around. It's like, well, fuck, exactly, dude. Like, you just need 3 players out there. Like, unless you want to win the draw, that's a centerman's role. That's otherwise, like, just fucking play hockey. Like, shut up. So same thing. I'm like, put Hoglander on the wing, because realistically, he plays best at the center of the ice. PD plays best on his wing. Besser plays best on his wing. Those three are the perfect fit for each other. But we have an AHL, WHL, ECHL, IHL freaking head coach who doesn't know how to look at players, and they're like, hey, those could fit together.
I know, man.
Okay,
the AV was good at that too. That was one of AV's strengths.
Yes.
He was very good at that. I miss that so much.
Vigneault, man.
There's Philadelphia wants to fire him right now. He's such
please.
Okay, we'll take Jim Tree Living. We'll take Jim Tree Living and Elaine Vigneault.
I'd actually come in my pants if we signed those two.
I would love AV right now. I'm craving for him. He was so underrated as a coach here. He was like, we didn't even notice. I didn't even see it. He was so underrated.
We fired him, right?
Yeah. We need
and then we brought in our 7th, 8th, 9th coach, and now
bring AV back, please.
Probably
seriously. Give AV 10 million a year. I don't care. Please just bring him back.
They're not going to do it. They don't want to pay.
But just after witnessing how bad Green is, like I just can't do it. Like,
here's something I've noticed too. Like I don't know, I haven't paid too much attention, but from the little bit I have, I've almost never seen someone come back to the organization.
I know,
right? Like
I know.
I've almost never.
Noel Brown
and Ian Clark. Those are the only two.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I was gonna say, like, even like head coach, GM, like they've never have. So part of me has a question of, once again, ownership. Or once they've come through this, is it kind of like this breakup? Like this is never gonna happen again. There's too many hurt feelings. Like, because same thing. Brian Burke was sitting on the table for 4 years. Like we could have just said, hey man, you want to come help us out? We're having a little tough time. And I can imagine him and whoever was in charge, if it's the Acklings, whatever, like they're two big heads that would butt really together. So they never would really have that clash.
But Calgary has brought back Sutter, so I don't see why it can't happen. It doesn't make sense to me.
That's what I mean. I don't know if that's a culture thing that guys, like, once they're here, they're like, fuck that place. I'm not going back. Like, I'm done. I'd rather go to New Jersey. I'd rather go to freaking Florida.
Yeah, well, you're definitely right. I think
you have a good point there, yeah.
But I think that with the way coaching and GM salaries have gone in the last 5 years in the NHL, I worry that we'll never, ever pay the money for a good one again in either of those roles.
That's terrifying.
I think that's the reality. I honestly think that they can just think they can find a diamond in the rough instead. That's what I see going on. But I want to touch on Horvat to the wing, because I think Austin is 100% correct.
Yes.
That, well, part of it. With that,
I just got Dylan to agree with me. Okay, I'm just happy.
I love it in the sense that it clears up Horvat's defensive struggles in our own end. It's very tempting to do it, but so I like that. And if that was his only problem, I would say yes, great idea, let's do that. But it exacerbates his other really big issue, because he's going to be forward checking more if he's on the wing, right? So then you have the problem. So what you could do, and they'll never do this because they're not this smart, they'll never ever consider doing this. You could draw up a system where Miller plays the center in the defensive end.
And he plays a 200-foot game.
And as you transition to getting the puck in the defensive zone, Horvat drops back and offers an option of someone to pass to, while Miller goes up and begins to play the wing position. You could draw something like that up and make that a system, right? They'll never do it. And then you would have it so, okay, Horvat's issue in the defensive end is covered, and he's not forechecking more, so it's not exacerbating his poor forechecking, and Miller goes and does that part for him. It's going to ask a lot of JT Miller, but you could do something like that. They'll never do it, though. But if you're my assistant coach and I'm the coach and you come with that idea to me, I would say, okay, but then he's got to forecheck more. But then we would talk about it and we would draw this up. They're just not competent enough to even have these conversations clearly.
Yeah, I know.
This is what I mean. Like, look at the personnel you have and utilize them the way they need to be utilized. Just like I'm saying, the perfect example. I mean, the perfect scenario. You and I just need to be head coach and assistant. I'll take the assistant job. It's okay. You can take the brunt of the media.
That's not what I meant.
But yeah, no, but like seriously, because that's exactly it. Same with having Hoglander sitting on your wing and having PD at your center. Well, what do these guys both do well? Like, let's evaluate that and set them up that way. Same thing. You're in the defensive zone. You guys are set up winger, center, winger. As you guys move out, Hoglander, you're moving to the center of the ice. PD, you're getting set up for your one-timer, just like Besser's getting set up for your one-timer. You're getting set up in a way that utilizes everyone's strengths to the best of their ability, not just like, okay, you're playing left wing, so left-handed. No, you don't make it. Frick, what else? Okay, like, no, just play the players to their strengths. And that's why everyone gets so locked up with someone's like, oh, I can't believe we're paying even I always bring the Beagle one. I can't believe we're paying Beagle $3 million. Like, well, those face-offs are worth $3 million, let alone anything else. And the PK, that's worth $3 million, let alone anything else. So don't give me this crap. You just look at a lineup and we lock someone in with an idea. It's like,
I know.
Crap, you're a winger. And to your point, that's what I was actually going to push back, as I was going to say, JT Miller plays your 200-foot game. That's just it. Because that's the player he's always been, though, right? Like, you're not like you're asking any more of him. It's just like you play the best at your center role because he's demanded to play two-way. You know what I mean? Like it just seems like he's able to come back, and it sets him up for a better understanding to transition out of the zone. And instead of sitting there at the wing, kind of like, here's the last example, I guess. It's kind of like a point guard. At the end of the day, he wants the ball. He wants the puck to be able to move and make the decisions as he goes out. And that's why sitting him at center almost works best, because he's usually the outlet pass. And go ahead.
You're 100% right, Austin, in the fact that Miller, when he's a center, he's the second man in the zone. And that second man into the zone is most of the time the first man just applies pressure. And if you're going to win the puck on the forecheck, it's the second man. And when he's in center, he's that man, right? And that's what looks so good. It's he's also better in the defensive end, but it's one of the things that's so enticing is having Miller in that position. And you're absolutely right. Hoglander, he doesn't have to really play center, especially in the defensive end. I wouldn't want that because honestly, he's not good enough. But he 100% should be your second man in the zone because he's got the highest percentage chance of winning that puck. You're 100% correct.
And then, I mean, same thing too. Okay, now I'm looking at, these are my top 5 guys because we're going to move Tanner Pearson if we can, regardless, he's not in our top 6 long term. So same thing. We need another kind of speedy, agile guy that might fit that role, or maybe it's like maybe someone who actually looks like Jake Virtanen and can play hockey 200-foot game, something like that. I don't know. Like maybe it's a power forward, maybe it's a small, speedy guy, but who is able to compensate for, like you saying, get someone in there deep. Hey, you know what? Actually, I'm just going to stop even saying that we need to find someone. Put Tyler Mott on the second line wing with Miller and Horvat. Okay, Travis, take some notes, buddy. Travis, take some notes, okay? This is the tough part. So we're gonna go Hoglander, PD, Besser, okay? You got that? And then we're gonna go Bo, Miller.
Slow down, he's already confused.
Mott.
That would actually works.
Mott has 2 T's. Mott has 2 T's. I know you don't see him on the ice very much because you don't play him. But Tyler Mott's got 2 T's. He's going to be the winger there, right?
I think that's too much for Travis Green.
I know.
It is ludicrous, though. It's ludicrous that we use Hoglander as the first man entering the zone. And what you're saying makes so much sense from a zone entry perspective, where you have on the top line, PD is your first man in. You'd play PD as the first man in. To apply pressure, and then Hoglander in at the same time. Besser setting up to receive the puck and maybe take a shot. Right, makes perfect sense. On the second line, Horvat's a bad forward checker, so you put him in the Besser spot where he sets up to take the puck, receive it, and try to take a shot. And you send Miller as your second man in, and Mott as your first man in. It makes perfect sense. It makes absolute sense.
Please try it. At least frickin' try it. That's all I can say. I'm not saying it's gonna work, but just try it. Why not?
There's not this. What Austin's talking about, though.
Yeah.
I am super sure that the coaching staff doesn't think as in-depth as Austin is thinking right now.
Thank you. But honestly, because that's just it. Like, we're just looking at the assets we have. And this is why I hate when they say, well, Travis Green's just working with what he's got. It's like, no, I feel like I could do a better job with what he's got right now. I'm sorry. Because you guys aren't even putting two and two together.
Yeah.
Same thing. Like, just let me write the lineups, dude. Like, send me the cards. You're obviously not doing any work over there. So let me just.
The defensive pairings are a prime example. I mean, how many games did I have to say, like, this Edler-Schmidt pairing isn't working. This Edler-Schmidt pairing isn't working. This Edler-Schmidt pairing. And then you go, oh my God, Myers looks the best he's ever looked with Ulevy. And then they change it. Like, it's just, there's just no, I don't even, it's clear though that they're not thinking very in depth.
So, yeah, I don't have much to say because I agree. And I don't know.
Austin could do a better job.
Yeah,
Honestly, I just don't get it.
I know.
I just don't understand.
I know.
Got to figure it out, guys.
If something works, just do it. Like I don't know why. And then he doesn't get asked the question either. Really, like he just says, "Oh, I like them together." That's all That's all it is. That's I don't know.
Well, and this is what I mean. Like I don't know. Once again, keep rolling back to like there's just some sort of cultural conspiracy here to make sure Travis Green still's got a job. Like it just doesn't make any sense. It's just like Joe Biden. It's like just ask him a tough question one time, guys. Like just just feed him some, like put a little bit of pressure. Like, hey man, you're the head coach of this team. We haven't had a whole lot of success. Do you think there's something else we could do? I think we played pretty well. There's something about our games that I like, and
you know what's funny?
Okay,
that's it. That's the whole press conference.
It's funny because a couple media guys have been asked why they feel like Hamnick's in over Ulevy, and their response, all they have is Hamnick's a veteran. That's the only reply they have.
Yeah. Oh, so true.
There's certain things that Hamnick does that we don't get. It's like, fuck, like what? Your fourth line PK when every other PK guy is injured, like in the box. Like
I love that when
Myers
they're like, fans don't see it, but there's certain. It's like, yeah, we don't see it because he's not doing anything. Like that's the reason we don't see it. It's not because he's like some genius defensive player that no fan could possibly conceive the things Hamnick is bringing to this. No. Like fuck's sake.
And it's honestly the flip side of the coin, or once again, it's almost hypocritical because well, Ulevy is just playing sheltered minutes. You don't really even notice him out there. It's like once again, I don't notice him because he doesn't make fuck ups like every other defenseman on our fucking team. Like and not say he's perfect, not say he's a messiah, but he's set up for success in the best place possible. Just like I feel like these other six could be set.
In the second game against Ottawa, we like cycled the puck for a minute straight, and it was the weirdest thing. It seems so bizarre. Like that should be common. Every team does it, but I haven't seen it in years. And we actually like cycled the puck and waited. Like it wasn't just our casual, like if we do win it, we play it back to the defenseman. Maybe they switch it across to the defenseman and then a weak wrister. No, we kept the puck. We continued to wait and look for the right opportunity, and we were able to do that. And it's just like it was so weird. And any other team, we wouldn't be good enough to do that because we would have the puck taken away. We wouldn't win the battles. But Ottawa's so bad that we were able to do it. It was so fucked.
At like 12 minutes a night, we can match up with Eric Gudbranson and still get a chance to play NHL hockey. So it is pretty interesting. But no, like, and two, even I think it's funny because playing NHL, like literally the game NHL over the years, it's like, oh, that's a glitch goal, man. Cross crease. I can't believe, slap shot one timers. It's like, you guys realize these goals work in real life too, right? Like, you just have to set up an entry into the zone, pass, cross crease, make some separation, like get a shot. We don't need to overthink it. And I feel like, to your point, we almost are like, okay, now we got the puck. Whew, take a breath. All right, back to the D-man. Here you go. Now let's set up. It's like, no, like, guys, why are we playing freaking dominoes here when we literally are playing a completely different game? Like, it doesn't make any sense at all. It's just like, okay, guys, now we got to figure it out.
Do it because our second line center can't win a puck battle.
Sorry, I'm not trying to interrupt. I just read a tweet that just set me off and about Gaudreau. Oh God, you guys can continue here. I'm just set off right now.
What is it? Read it. Let's hear.
Some guy. So I'm not trying to call anyone out, but the whole Sutter Gaudreau thing, people are like bashing Sutter because that was a mean comment, and it's like, he's the one behind the bench and sees the effort level. You don't. So shut the fuck up and let the fucking guy say what he wants. This is a soft world. Stop bitching.
Yeah.
Okay.
And here's another.
Stop trying to protect everyone. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say, and here's another thing too. Like, people don't realize this, and this might happen. I don't know. I don't want to put scenarios out there I don't understand, but I'm saying this. Like, let's say 20 minutes prior to that, Johnny Gaudreau and Sutter had a talk and was like, dude, you fucking, like, let's figure it out here, man. Here's what we need to do. We need a one-on-one. And they had a hard talk, and it was like, cool. We good now? We're good. And then he had to go to the talk and go to the press conference. And you know what? It was like, if I sit here and tell him, I can't wait for him to have another great game. It's like, no, we're fucking, we need to work on some shit, dude. Like, we already just talked, like, so, or same thing. Maybe they haven't even had that conversation, but they've been trying to, or even trying to let him know, like, dude, come on, I got to see something, and he hasn't been shown it. It's like, if I step up to the mic and say one thing and be like, yeah, we're best friends, and I just can't wait for him to celebrate so we can have a beer after. It's like, no one wants to hear that, especially if he hears that, and it's like, dude, we're not fucking friends. Like, no, you were just yelling at me in the back room, ripping me for not doing PKs. Like, I'm not. Like, there's will create more divide. Even just being honest is honestly the best thing you could do, and that's why our frustrations come with our media and our interactions, because most of the time it's like you don't get any honesty or like real emotion.
Dude, this coach has won cups with LA. He's a part of a dynasty. I think he knows what he's doing. Like Green's not won anything. Like, you can't sit there and compare the two people. Like, Green would never say that. Maybe that's a fucking issue. The fact that he doesn't say these things, he's just too nice to his players. The players coach. Is it working? Oh, I don't think it is. Right? I'm just sick of it. Like, it's just too soft. Like, it's the NHL. These guys are paying millions. Who cares? Like, Gaudreau's, he's never been known as a hard-nosed player, so I don't blame him. But
I don't know. I feel like this happens a lot in sports. Dylan, I'll let you go in a minute. I was just gonna say, like, even with now I've lost his name, but Babcock. Like, everyone made about how terrible he was, and he has made some pretty stupid moves in his life, like, not letting Modano play and like doing all these weird things that were like, yeah, okay, you're an asshole. But at the end of the day, like, he won, and he's won a lot, and there's a reason to that. Not saying that is the formula for success, but just like you look at Bill Belichick, and he's the old grumpy grandpa of the NFL, and it's just like, wow, you don't want to sit in a press conference with him because he's just going to tell you nothing. Like, yeah, we did good, cool, that's it. But now he's back in the room yelling at his guys, doing his thing, and being grumpy old grandpa to create more pressure and success to continue to build. You don't have that so much nowadays because we're so scared about hurting people's feelings and having some sort of repercussions. I don't know. It's just such a weird nature thing that we've understood this for so long that, like, yeah, the whole cliche, iron sharpens iron. It's like, yeah, well, you got to be tough to get tougher. Like, this is just the reality of life. Like, we're such a soft society that we've come down in our sports. Even
it's bad. It's like we saw an issue a long time ago, and then now we're just becoming too soft, and there's no middle ground. Like, just find the middle ground. But anyways,
I know Tortorella coached Horvat when, like, he was young, but, like, imagine a coach like Babcock, Tortorella, Sutter with Horvat now. Like, they would be so quick to just rag on the guy, and like it would be for his benefit, and hopefully he would either step up and improve his play for the better, or he would crumble and there'd be serious issues. Like, this is what you need. But, like, okay, I want to go back, because what would, like, back to the Monahan Gaudreau thing, what would you say? They're too soft, right? And let's say Jim Bennick stays around and he continues to bring in these types of coaches. The narrative on Horvat could become very similar to these players where, okay, we never realized, but all of a sudden now, in hindsight, for 8 years, Horvat's just too soft of a player. He'll never win a championship. You could see that narrative with the way he's playing build if this goes on for another 3-4 years. The same way it goes on with Monahan, right? It's very plausible if you don't get the right type of coach. And now we've clearly seen that Monahan and Gaudreau, under that type of coach, they just crack under the pressure. They're just too big of pussies. But Horvat, if he doesn't even get the opportunity at this rate, he could have the same narrative about him. And we'll see if he actually steps up to the plate when that opportunity comes, if that opportunity comes.
Yeah, and I don't know. It just shows you kind of like maybe our organization is just way too passive aggressive, or maybe we just all are. Like you said, maybe it's just these few guys that are like able to call people out, like Tortorella and Sutter, who like we're okay with it because we know that's who they are. But most of these other guys like don't show us enough of that emotion because they don't want to get this bad rap or not get a job or something weird. But like same thing, even with the whole Virtanen, it was like, yeah, we brought him to arbitration to show him. Maybe it was like Mason Raymond. We wanted to show we were pressure. It's like, fuck, dude. Give him the lowest minimum league offer and say, here you go. You want to play for us or not? Like, and then go from there. Not here. Let's sit at arbitration. And yeah, maybe he'll learn now. And next year we can get a real product out of him. It's like, no, sit him down, understand who he is. And if there's no way you've got him to motivate from now, like, or motivate him now to do what you need him to do, like, why do you expect this random little meeting is going to do it? Like, you need to be able to sit there. And same thing. We briefly called out Jake Virtanen last year in the playoffs of like, well, we need to see a little bit more effort from him. It's just like, dude, why are you just letting him skate by? Like, go out there and rip him a little bit, because then he'll know. And same thing, like, not to harp on him, but that's just one example where it's like we've taken such a passive aggressive route of like trying to like be like, man, come on, figure it out, dude. And it's just like, if Tortorella was here, like you said, it would have been like, okay, the guy is not skating. He's not going to be in my lineup anymore if he doesn't keep doing this. It's like, oh, okay, I'm going to start skating now. Maybe I'll try a little harder so I don't get cut. Not just
Okay, and like, why is Virtanen the only one that they even like? I can think of so many games, almost every player on our team other than Hughes. I could even think of times Petey did, where people just aren't they're not trying. Honestly, they're not giving enough effort.
I'm going to say this before Colin gets back. This is what I was pointing out with JT Miller too. Like, yes. I feel like same with Jake Virtanen, JT Miller. We pick guys. I pick Edler a lot. You know, we pick random guys that it's like, man, the guy's not doing anything. But it's like, you know, everyone else is not also doing anything either. But like, we just notice him a bit more. Same with Myers. That always happened with Myers, especially last year. Was like, I could just notice your mess ups, but I know everyone else is messing up. But I notice you so much more. Like, it's just such a weird narrative that we have. Like, same thing, like a scapegoat of sorts.
Yeah, and like it's only ever like these couple guys they say aren't trying, but like this should be normal. Like, with the way our players are lacking effort, it should be very commonplace to call them all out, not just a guy like Virtanen or Miller when they're not trying. I could think of almost every single guy on the team where they should have been called out for lack of effort.
Yeah, that's why that tweet set me off. I'm not going to question a guy like Sutter saying that about Gaudreau when Gaudreau's had no playoff success ever. Cool, you get me 80 points a year, perform in the playoffs, and then we'll talk about that. That's the way I see it. That's what I don't know. That's the way I see it.
Yeah.
So stupid. Why? Oh, it just frustrates me. It really does. It's just so stupid. Like, shut up. Like, these guys have success. Like, don't question it.
Dude, PC culture, man.
We're
really going down the right wing.
Yeah, this has actually been a really good pod. I'm liking this, but we need to get more emotional like this more. But
well, I was
gonna say honestly, you know, I always made that joke about like we could never work for Team 1040 now because they're shut down, but because we would get kicked off in a week. But I also thought it was kind of funny too that like we harp on all these media guys, and I don't want to keep picking on the guys that do come on our show because I really appreciate them and it's fun to have them. I just like to have a different opinion sometimes, but it's just kind of funny how like it took you to the hockey hour to kind of agree with some of these things. Like it took you all the way to this 3-man podcast with no listeners to be like, yeah, you know what? You can call out Bo Horvat and you can question him a little bit. It's like, oh wow, you guys didn't want to say that. You didn't want to say that on the air for the last 4 years, but I got you. I know.
Well, it'd be great to not have to have the media guys on, but unfortunately, our friends like Sean and your guys' buddy Nathan, they're just too big of pussies to come on the pod, so we have no other option to go to these subpar media members.
I'm not gonna shit talk the media. Like,
I
am. Same thing. I'm sick of it,
okay,
man.
Fine.
Like, show me some transparency.
It's just like we're talking about with the players. We should be also allowed to call it the media.
Yeah.
Especially when we sit here and we
just like the players, they're not doing their job.
That's fair. Yeah, I can't disagree. That's fair. They're not. They really aren't. I just hate this whole narrative movement. Like, say what you want. Quit following this guideline. Like, it's just dumb. Like, you can never pay me enough money to follow a guideline ever. If I had to give my opinion, I'm giving you my opinion. I'm not following a guideline.
No.
And it's insane too because like you guys have harped on me in the past for I have my own narrative, and sometimes you guys feel that I stick to my own narrative too aggressively. But at least it's my narrative.
Yeah,
at least it's something I came up with, and I honestly believe these guys
true.
aren't even making their own narrative. They're taking a narrative and saying, I will follow it. You made this narrative, and it's great. I have no objections.
Or my favorite thing is then here's some stats. Maybe just look at these. I'm not going to say anything about them or what they might allude, but you can make up your mind for yourself. And it's just like, oh, so you want me to know that this guy's a terrible player because you showed me this stat. Or this guy's great because he actually showed me this stat that his extra goals for against minus 17.5 were. Like,
but let's not mention that the heat map is always directed right at our slot because. You know, that wouldn't be good for the Travis Green narrative.
No, not. We don't want to look at like areas of defensive breakdowns or like the fact that if you look at our heat map too, it's like, okay, right D, left wing, and a tiny little bit inside the crease. like literally in the crease. Like we have to shove it in there. Like that's pretty much our whole heat map every game too. And it's just like, once again, every team probably is looking at this and has some smart people being like, wow, the playbook's right there, guys. We don't even have to do anything tonight. It's just like, we could just do this. Just put the team out there and there you go. That's it.
Just so the viewers know, me and Austin commonly send each other the heat maps, and every single time it's the darkest red on the entire map is our slot. Every game. That is where the heat is. The Vancouver Canucks slot.
Natural Stat Trick was a great site. I'm glad you showed me that, because that's kind of where they do every NHL game, break it down to the whatever the crazy stats that no one even knows the abbreviation for because it's stupid, but they have everything. They take the time, so I appreciate them, but yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, it's unbelievable that I like a lot of stats are there's some I really like I do really like expected goals against for a goalie. I really like that stat, but obviously it misses some context of how good the shots are, but I think in a large sample size it does a really good job of telling a story. But the heat map is like really good at telling a story. If you're consistently giving up the slot, which most teams do not, that should tell you want a structural change. As an organization, you should have this data, or at least be looking at the free data, and it should be very clear to you that there's a systemic problem that you need to shore up, and we never do.
When my uncle coached like Pee Wee AAA, he had me come to the games and do a heat map, literally, of the shots. Like at that age of a level, he was smart enough to understand, like, hey, I should probably see where my team needs some improvement, and I'm gonna get you to do this for me. Like Travis Green, doesn't have a single guy in the whole rink watching the games, so I can't imagine they have a heat map of anything. It's like they don't do anything. Like, so it shows you once again of how minute thinking there must be around this organization.
Well, I'm just sending a tweet and chirping someone for a stupid opinion. Just give me a second here.
I thought that was the rest of your day. I thought that was your whole schedule.
This one guy's like, you Sutter can't say that. That's mean. You're gonna hurt his feelings. You can't do that. It's like, no. Sutter's paid a lot of money. He's won cups. He wrote a bad effort. He's gonna tell him. It's the NHL. Suck it up, pony boy.
Yeah. I also want to hit on something here. I've been talking about this the last couple of days with people about context. Context is a weird one, and especially the last year, we've loved to be like, oh, that's out of context, and just to completely disregard things. Like one example is mostly political stuff. A lot of political stuff is taken out of context because someone wants to say that red man bad, or Biden's dumb, or like we always want to pick something, right? Like, but when you take something, I mean, realistically, everything is taken out of context and you get this full thing. If I show a clip of this, technically it's taken out of context, even if I've elapsed my whole train of thought in this one clip. Regardless, they haven't seen this whole podcast, thus they don't know the complete context. That's everything in life. Like, just fucking figure that out, guys. Like, not saying you, just like everyone in life. Like, we're never going to have full context for things, but it's how you utilize the stats and how you utilize the things and realizing the motivation. Because I had an example of something yesterday, and it was a political thing, and I had a couple of Republican friends push back and say, like, I usually agree with what you say, but that was taken out of context to create a narrative. And I'm like, well, let's look at what was stated and what was said. These were all complete facts. None of them were to say anything. None of them were alluding. Nothing was an exaggeration. Nothing was meant to be taken into any other way except for this sentence is a fact. Thus, when you put these things together, it's out of context, but it's still factual. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but it's still real. It's still understandable. But when I say here and when, we say like, oh crap, he's the worst coach in the NHL, he's this or that. It's like, if I take that and I make that a clip, it's like, that's probably an exaggeration. That's probably out of context. But when you look at these stats for exactly what they are, and you take into consideration the things they lack and actually go through the time to process them, you can make a very good formulated point based on these statistics. I know I've gone a long way on this, but I feel like this is something that just in general, as a society, it's like it's either it's a good scapegoat of like, oh, it's out of context, they don't know what they're talking about, or it's just like, well, I've taken this piece of information despite the context, or I've done the background information to figure it out. And this is where we formulate most of our ideas. And that's why I say this, because I know Dylan especially is one of those guys that takes the time to look at things, takes the time to look at resources and sources to figure out like, hey, actually this statistic makes sense, this one doesn't, like these are all nice to have, but some of these really don't make sense, but some of them are very good because X, Y, and Z. So
this is really interesting because I want to touch first. So this is what you're saying is true for any sort of thinking, anything you got to think about life. This is true. It's not just politics. It's not just hockey. It's anything where you get data. Aside from luck, what makes you good as a GM or anything in life, what makes you good at it is how you analyze the data and what conclusion you come to based off the data, right? That's going to determine what kind of success you have in any sort of thinking thing. So now what's interesting, right, is like you look at this season, and me and Austin, and even last season, during this pod, me and Austin started in very different places, and this podcast has forced us to really think about how we feel on things. That's what's great about it. And
the Hockey Hour is for unity.
Well, and we started in such different places, and we have disagreed, and we've both been doing analysis and have different conclusions all the way up. And now, as you've seen, we've had totally different perspectives on the team, but they're coming and meeting in the same place all of a sudden. We're starting to, I took this path and believed one thing, and Austin believed another thing, and we're now meeting in the middle saying, okay, here's our core root problems. This is what we're seeing. How are no one else seeing it? So there's multiple ways you can look at something and think about it to get to that end goal that is the truth, right? And we've met there now. And it's just based off looking at the data we have available to us. And we probably both would have made mistakes along the way if we were the option, like if we were the GM of this team.
Yeah.
But we would have ended up here now realizing the exact same resolution. We'd probably make the same resolution right now just based off this, right? So like it's absolute insanity.
And I guess I think the thing is too is like, I mean, like as a three, like we all kind of have different areas that we are confident, I would say confident, but like that we specialize in, or we look at, or we like to spend time on, and we have different opinions in different areas. Like none of us are all aligned together in one. And that's why I think the beauty of this podcast has come about, is because, I might have some crazy idea, and then Colin shoots it down immediately, and then Dylan shoots it down immediately. And I take the time to like try and figure out some more stats behind that to try and build my argument. And then I finally went over Colin a little bit. And then maybe down the road, Dylan kind of comes to light, because same thing. We had totally different agreement on this particular thing. But at the end of the day, we're all kind of swerving together to meet at that point of like, what is really wrong? Where do we need to address? And what are we seeing as three objectionable people who just are able to sit here and yell at each other and tell each other fuck off and then be fine the next day? Like that's just the kind of, this is even something I might have said before in a prior podcast, that like the best coaches and guys like Bill Belichick, like they know that we're going to go in there, we're probably going to get pissed off at each other, we're probably going to have a different opinion, but at the end of the day, we're just trying to win. Like, so whatever gets us the win, whatever gets us the Super Bowl, I'm okay with it, even if I have to be wrong every now and then. And that's just it. It's like, not saying that we are going to be the GOATs of the hockey podcast world, but like, but it's just that. It's like, we just sit here and we formulate opinions based on kind of like friction. Go ahead, Colin.
I was gonna say, I agree with all you're saying. But breaking news. Buffalo Sabres have lost again. They're 17 in a row. They've lost. It's funny. They're at 2-2, and then Boston scored a goal with 3 minutes left in the game, and they lost. Holy shit! Man. And another breaking news is some guy had a good tweet, said toward Johnny Gaudreau. He's like, because this guy was crying about it. This guy's like, imagine being paid millions and not performing.
That's just it too. Like I mean, at the end of the day, I think the whole point of this podcast is like, we can expect people to do their job, right? That's just it. Like,
I know.
Like when I go to the gym and I don't clean up the weights, like they're gonna get mad at me for not doing my job. and it gets dirty there, it's gonna, get mad at me. I'm not doing my job. We're allowed to get mad at these guys who are not doing their damn job. And same with that coach, especially. Like, come on.
I know, man. I know.
One thing that this podcast has made me realize, for example, and I think it's so beneficial. Actually, like, people don't understand who's never done the podcast. They're usually scared, but the great part about it is you're kind of forced to realize when you're wrong about things and reformulate opinions. One thing that I've realized is I am not the best judge of offensive talent, like the potential of a player. I'm not. You guys are better than me at it. That's just the truth. So things that I was staunchly set on, I've come to realize that certain times I feel that, like, I need to listen, right, on that. But one thing I definitely feel like I understand defensive structure pretty well. And I'm certainly not going to default to Colin on defensive structure. But Colin has a much better eye for me than potential offensive talent for a young player. And these are things that, like, until you do this, you don't understand, because you're just going to talk to yourself and believe that you're right on everything. And until you're in a setting like this where anybody can listen to you, your buddies can listen to you, harp on you later, right? You don't have to reformulate your opinions.
Well, that doesn't apply to Steve Desi, though.
Yeah, no, I thought that was going to be your point, that you found out through this podcast that Steve Devy's in the wrong. But no, 100%, right? And actually, I've been talking with some people at our gym. They do boxing, and one kid we were working with, and it was like just that. I'm like, you don't know what you know until you try and, like, maybe explain it to somebody else, and then you realize, like, oh crap, that actually doesn't make sense. So let me reformulate that idea, or that doesn't make sense to you, so let me think of another way to reiterate this piece and help you understand. Helps me get a better understanding of what I believe. And it's just that, and it's like, it's not even to your point of being able to just realize what your weaknesses are is a great thing too. Like, we sit here and same thing, it's like, yeah, I don't know, I'm not very good at even doing anything. I just kind of sit here and fly by the seat of my pants, and it's fun. And that's what I like about this podcast. Same thing. You just come on here. You don't need to be the fact checker of the world. You just can come on and have fun and do your thing. And to the same extent, it's like understanding that, like, just because I don't understand our prospect pool or understand, like, certain aspects of the team, it's not like, wow, that guy doesn't know the team. It's just like, yeah, I got some things to work on. I got something to brush up on, and understanding that and just utilizing that to go ahead. But sometimes, like you said, you get stuck in the lockstep of your same ideas without having these conversations. And I'm glad we've come to do this.
So to my original point.
Hold on. Okay. Actually, no, go ahead. Sorry, this is
to my original. It's quick. Okay. To my original point, I'm gonna call them out. Sean and Nathan, stop being little bitches. It's time to come on the podcast.
Yeah, if you have an opinion and you want to sit, you know what pisses me off? Sean's willing to fucking come to your house, shit talk me because he knows you're gonna gang up on me, but he won't come on this fucking podcast.
He doesn't have the balls to come on in front of everyone and say what he thinks. Yeah.
You know why, Sean? You know why? Right. You're a pussy. You're a pussy.
This is the pod where we find out what really the Hockey Hour is about. This is the real Hockey Hour podcast we've been waiting for a couple months now. This is it.
You want to hear a good quote of the day? You get ready here. I read this on Twitter. Quote of the day from Mr. Travis Green himself. This contradicts everything. This is what he said. He said, quoting, "I'm always thinking long-term and short-term. Right now, our short-term goal is to win games. Our long-term goal is to win games and develop young players when we can."
Oh my god, dude!
He just said that.
Oh my god! Oh, that's such a lie. That is such a bold-faced lie.
He's putting himself under the bus with that.
He's doing zero development. If you want to develop a player, you put them in positions where they might fuck up, because they will learn from that. Dude, but he shelters every player that's young. Doesn't put them in any sort of defensively responsible position on the ice, and then we'll bench them for a veteran for no reason.
I know. It's not even that. He's not even playing Ulevi. It's not even that he's not putting him in the right position to play him. He's not even playing him. So how could you say that? How?
I don't know who the PR guy is for the Canucks, but like he needs a new job. That's all I can say. I'm sorry. Like whoever's the media manager and media relations for the Canucks, like just do a better job. Take their accounts away and just you can do it all. And but then again, once like I always come back to this realization of like, well, the team's just from the top down kind of a mess. So once again, that media guy is probably just being told to toe the line like everyone else. So it's like, what do you?
Okay, it's unbelievable to me. I don't understand. I don't know if people just like they're not really that invested in the team and not really thinking about it, or they like the positive narratives that are always going on. I don't know what it is, but to me it seems like it's bound to happen that something like this podcast where people are really like truthful and critical should break through probably for each team individually. I don't know how, like maybe there is for other teams, but how has something like this not broken through where people are, you would think people are starving for honest analysis of a team. I don't know how it doesn't get incredibly popular. I don't know why people would continue to watch this mainstream bullshit. It makes no sense. I mean, maybe am I wrong, or do people just enjoy that? I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know. And honestly, it's a question of like, once again, do people just not enjoy it, or are people just like so happy-go-lucky they just rather listen to one narrative rather than like continue to search for other things? Or yeah, I don't know. It's always been a question of mine because literally since I was working with the Lions, which is probably like what 8-10 years ago, we've been listening to Team 1040 driving into Vancouver for a long time, and since then I've had the same opinions I do now. Like I was never a real fag. It's the same thing. It's like I don't want to use some crap. Like once again, I don't give a shit about this stuff. Like give me something new, give me something different, give me just a fresh take that you actually believe in, not just some crap. So I don't know. I don't know if it's just that once again, there's some sort of huge giant hockey collusion out there that's like decided that we have one media message and that's all we get, or
suppress
if the people if the people are just like, yeah, because I don't know, because otherwise I honestly don't see how there's any other way, because what else do you do except for continue to kind of like we talked about earlier, continue to fund and prop up these ideas and narratives that we've decided we want the NHL to run on, and we're just going to pump so much money, so much media time and airtime because it's so limited, especially in Canada with where you can go for this stuff, that it's just no one else will really break through because we're never going to get that opportunity. And then we get guys like freaking, a couple of guys from TSN who told us they can't come on the podcast because they're locked in contractually to only do their podcast. So it will never help other people get big because they're all greedy fucks. But like, it just, like it's just, it honestly, after this podcast, I'm kind of convinced the NHL is just a sham. Like I'm almost at the point, I'm just over it. Like, it's just like, oh yeah, you know what? I think we figured it out. I think we hit it on the nail. Like, and just at the point that nothing else makes sense, right? Like who I bet you right now, even though every Buffalo Sabres probably media thing is probably shitting on their team, they're probably all still tote the same narrative of like, it's this guy's fault, it's that guy's fault. Why did he do this? When there's probably a handful of issues in there, and maybe there's some player issues.
Starts at the top down.
But why aren't they getting the same exposure? Why are people just like, oh yeah, Buffalo sucks? Whatever.
You look at like Joe Rogan being the biggest podcast in the world, and he goes against the the media narrative, and I think that's why so many people like him. He's willing to do that, right? It's such a big part of him, and so that makes me believe that people do want this, right? They do want something they do want the truth, right? They want something that tells it how it is. So to me, it seems like something's destined to break out, and I mean, I'm ready to blow it up. If somehow we were lucky enough to explode, if we got popular, I'll blow up the whole damn thing. I'll blow up the Vancouver Canucks organization. I'm ready.
The thing is, I don't know, we need more exposure. We need to find a way. There's these other podcasts who get more exposure than us, but they're the same old boring BS where they just repeat the crap that everyone hears. But we just need more exposure. It's that simple.
Well, eventually something, and I don't really care if it's up, but something is bound to break out, and
hopefully it's good and long lasting enough that it just exposes, because it would be very easy to expose just how ridiculous it is. Like, imagine you blow up, you're getting 10,000 viewers every podcast, right? Well, if we were doing that, A, would be making money, we could quit our jobs. We would be clipping like, oh, March 4th, he said this, and then April 7th, he said this completely, right? It would be so easy to just completely wreck these guys.
Oh yeah.
Honestly, that's the thing, is like, even like I was saying that the other day, like we just had done so many podcasts after podcast after podcast, and then it was like, oh crap, I actually gotta take the time to go through, listen to these clips, and I get these like 10-minute clips of like, all of this was really good, now let's chop it up into more. And it's just like, you're just trying to find free time to do this stuff. But exactly that, it's like, even this whole podcast, honestly, this whole podcast we just did, I feel like I can get about 150 clips out of,
easily.
and just, I mean, I know my whole Travis Green lineup card is going to blow up, so that better be it. But you know, like if we had the time to be sitting here, we had some loyal fans out there clipping stuff, then we would be at a point where we could hopefully get some more traction and get that potential. But I don't know. I mean, hopefully we can try and be a little more consistent. Hopefully we can try and think of more topics, have more fun like this. Honestly, it's just fun to come on out here, rant and be. I mean, this has been dry for us.
One thing I'll say is I'll never. Austin does a lot. The last couple of weeks, I could have done a little bit more, in my opinion. I'm not like, if we do, I don't know. It depends if how much we want it. Like if we just want a casual podcast, and it's in our hands. Really, is all I'm trying to say. This is in our hands.
No,
One thing to say to Nathan and Sean and anybody else that listens, if we don't even know you, let's say you don't know us, but you listen week to week and you're listening and you want to be on, message us. But because what's so cool and you don't understand until you're on it is to be on a podcast and put yourself out there with the willingness to say anything. You have to fully open up and be willing to say what you truly believe, and then to go back 2 or 3 months later and listen to what you said. It's just such a cool take, because you can be like, sometimes you're like, I'm such a fucking idiot, and other times you're like, oh my god, I'm a genius, right? Like it's a really cool thing. And if you're listening right now and you listen to all our pods, only people who listen to all the pods, message us, we'll get you on the show.
Yeah, there's people out there who are listening. I just want to know who the hell they are.
I think there was the guy in Virginia, right?
I was gonna say, we want our one fan in Virginia. We want him on. I don't know who he is. Probably just a VPN, someone in BC. But like, we want that Virginia fan. But no, 100%. Like, even if we you get on here for 10, 15 minutes, kind of shoot the shit, do your thing. Come on for a whole pod if you want. Really, like, we just got more stuff to talk about. It's just fun, and like you said, it's very cool. And I know I want to try and get a couple, obviously, actual former players, actual players, people in the media. We're still trying to get some more people like that, but we're trying to get some new stuff. I know I mentioned to you guys, I want to try and get a couple of these junior players who are kind of going into their next year, see what this COVID year has kind of been like for them, what's next, how that process works, things like that. And just little things that are more fun and more personal. Just get on here and just chat. Because to me too, it's kind of cool. Like, this is always something that I guess, I don't know, at the end of the day, like, even if this never happens, nothing ever happens here, it's like one day my grandkids might watch this and be like, wow, look at that. That was cool. Like, otherwise there was nothing else that was left of me on this, like, of reference. So there might be opportunity to be able to say like, cool, look at, I was the one that predicted that Elias Pettersson actually would have done this, that, the other thing, and way back in the day, look at, cool, or just a cool little moment to have in time for you to be able to like, cool, I was right. Or, hey, look at, this is me when I was a young buck. Me and Colin and Dylan, us just young bucks as we're old grandpas in chairs showing our grandkids, look at us barking at each other. I don't know. It's just cool. It's just a cool experience, honestly. You never thought about it. You always are nervous doing something new like this, but once you get into it, it's honestly some of the most fun we have is just sitting here yelling at each other.
It's funny now. Daniel Carcillo tweeted about the Sutter thing, and he's just
obsessed.
Well, no, it's just there's a lot of back and forth, and like there's no middle ground here. And now Carcillo's chirping Sutter and saying he's an asshole, and it's just, oh my god, it's funny. Like
he's also like the guy who thinks the NHL is like the devil. So yeah, I mean, I understand he's had a rough go at it and he's had some tough things in his life, but it seemed like he went so hard the other way. But I don't want to get on that. Yeah.
One thing to touch on Austin's point is, like, I remember when Colin wanted to be on the podcast. The first one was like, it was just in his basement. We were just recording it. It was whatever. I knew like no one. I don't think anybody listened to it.
Probably
And
not.
I remember being like, oh, it's no big deal. But then like we didn't do many, but like I think Austin did one, and then I did one more with him like that no one listened to. But then the fourth podcast was definitely like, okay, now we're doing it together. It's online. We're definitely gonna have people hearing this. It's gonna be up forever. Um, and at that point, I remember being like, "This is freaking weird, man. Like, I don't really want to do this. It's I'm just putting myself out there, and it feels weird, and like you almost feel like vulnerable, like mentally vulnerable about the Canucks. And I never really wanted to do it, and um, it's definitely like you're hesitant about it at first, but like honestly, once you do it, it's just like it's almost like freeing.
I like that. I like that word too, vulnerable, because honestly, that's just like so much of our lives are sheltered and structured that we never like. The one thing I always say is like the best way to get anywhere in your life is take yourself out of your comfort zone briefly at times, the most you can, until it's too uncomfortable to bear, then get back in. Like briefly take yourself out of your comfort zone, because otherwise you're never going to get anywhere in life. And it's just like this. It's like honestly, you get here and it's just like, oh crap, if I say something stupid, it's people are gonna think I'm stupid. Well, I don't really care about that. And if I say something completely false, people are gonna call me out. Well, then I'm gonna try and be as factually substantial as I can, or let people know that I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Like, so one or the other, and people will fact check me or fact check us, and we can go back and be like, oh crap, actually this guy never played there. Shoot, my bad. I've done that a couple times where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm pretty sure. And I'm like, oh fuck, no, never mind. That didn't happen at all. But whatever. It's just life. Like you just gotta realize that you can either take things super seriously or come out here and just like full blown sit behind your argument and realize it was a lie later down the road, or just be like, I don't know, I think this is cool. It's just fun to just come and chat. Like, I don't know.
And you find your style too. Like you kind of like you get comfortable, and then it takes a while to like see how you want to go about it. Like I'd say we each kind of have our own unique style and approach to things, and like but it didn't happen. Like you don't on the first podcast. It's kind of built towards this. You know what I mean? The first podcast, we were all like taking turns, waiting for each other. Like, oh yes, and like kind of agreeing and trying to. And then you slowly kind of morph into what you want to do. Like.
And that's the one thing I was going to say is honestly, we're getting better to do that as we do ourselves. The one thing is, I think, is as we go and it is kind of a weird one when you're bringing on guests, but we do need to get to that point where we feel comfortable enough to kind of give it and take it a little bit. Cause I felt re-listening to some of these last podcasts. I'm like, okay, I get your point, buddy. Like, let's just like, you're still going. I felt like I could have jumped in here. But I like almost being a little bit too respectful of like, I want him to be able to say his thing. We're asking him to come on. We're doing our thing. Thank you. We don't want to be jerks, but we got to get to that point where we're just feeling natural to be able to do that and have these guys on that feel butthurt about us cutting them off. So
it's funny, Jeff Patterson. Like, there's so many times where I could tell you wanted to jump in and he just wouldn't let you. And it's like that's why I started laughing. I tried to hide it. It was so obvious.
He could see it too. He was smirking a couple times. He was like, "Oh yeah, I've watched it a couple times where I was like, okay, I'm ready to hop in here." And he's just like, "All right, that was just." He
just kept going and going and going. I'm like, oh my god.
That's why I don't really like having these media members on. I mean, they've gotten pretty good over the years of controlling a conversation, and they kind of use their status to make you, they're gonna act pissed off if you don't let them do that, right? They're gonna act like you're rude because they're this great media member, and I just don't think it's really that interesting. And honestly, it's fucking boring.
Yeah, I was gonna say that it's just kind of like it's whatever, and that's a good point. They just gotten to the point in their lives where realistically everything is a media response, and sometimes that can get dry, and that's why it's like, oh crap, I said this, but I have to also cover this point and cover this point and cover this point and cover this point. Now this is a 5-minute response to, do you think Ulevi should be playing? It's like, no, I just wanted to know why. Like, is he in or not? No, okay, why? Okay, cool, done.
You know what I'm gonna do? The next time we have one of these big media guys on where I know I'm going to say like 2 words, I'm going to just mute my mic. I'm going to order a shit ton of Chinese food and mute my mic and just eat Chinese on the pod the whole time.
You should. That'd be funny.
No,
So
exactly.
I'm not talking much because I'm starving right now. Like I just need to eat food because we've been.
So we're gonna go for another hour. Let's do it. Bring it on. No.
Yeah, I got
kidding.
a buddy here
That was
waiting
awesome.
to eat too. And yeah, the viewers got a treat. This is not the hockey hour. This is pretty much 2 hockey hours in one episode. So you're welcome. Enjoy.
This was like the first actual episode of the Hockey Hour. Let's be honest. This is what we need.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
Because this was all, I don't know. We just like, there's certain times where we get back together after being apart for so long that we got a little fire in the belly.
Yeah.
And we've had this a couple times. Like even the last pod we had, it was kind of like we didn't really have many topics. We were kind of stale on what we had.
That was my worst podcast I've ever done.
And it was just like we kind of just showed up. We were like, we need to do something.
I know.
Now we need to like just be able to do something and just have fun with it and just talk about these things we want to talk about and not.
I think the drunk one was probably like the least cohesive.
I was gonna say it wasn't. I think that one was pretty good though. We were all yelling at each other. Like we were having a good time. That's just all it is. It's like. But yeah, I better stop.
I listened back to it and I was like, I don't even know if I agree with myself. This is fighting the fight.
Yeah, I know exactly. It's just good to go at it and throw it out there. But all right, another great episode in the books.
Close us out, Austin.
Record it, but then I want to say something after you're done recording.
All right. Well, yeah, I don't know. Thanks for another great episode. The boys will be back. Make sure you hit us up on Instagram, social media, Twitter, whatever. Let us know what you want to hear, what you want us to talk about. Let us know if you want to come on. You know, we need some other people to yell at. It's not fun yelling at these two all day. They're just idiots. I'm just kidding. Have a great one.
Thank you for listening to The Hockey Hour.